Authorities aim to determine the cause of death and identify the victims. On Wednesday, Inspector General Police Douglas Kanja visited the Binzaro area and pledged arrest and prosecution of suspects once investigations are complete. 26 Western allies have formally committed to deploying troops by land, sea or air to Ukraine the day after a ceasefire deal is agreed, Emmanuel Macron has said. After a summit of 35 countries dubbed the Coalition of the Willing, the French president said US support for the reassurance force would be finalized in the coming days. President Donald Trump recently indicated that US backing could probably come in the form of air support, and Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky said he'd spoken to the US president about maximum protection for Ukraine's skies. Trump also said the EU should work with the US to hold imports of Russian oil and gas, to hold Russia's war machine by economic means, according to an account of the phone call from Finnish President Alexander Stubb. That's the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.
.5 SpiceFM, Kisumu.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can't run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
In this country, 6 families and 8,000 Kenyans control 90% of the GDP. We are not a country. We are a plantation. We work for Ruto.
When you're telling the judges court orders are papers or they will not obey court orders, they're sitting and you're seeking orders from them. So how are they supposed to interpret it? Isn't it an oxymoron?
When you see a judiciary that seems to be under some control somewhere, you start questioning. We have very powerful governors, but they don't use their offices to serve the people.
If you are not shameful to do what you are doing, why should we protect you?
I'm human. Everybody's human. So when you're told, kuja tuongee, I mean, you'd be a fool to say, stagi kuongea today. Conversations have to be had, you know?
People in leadership should only go into leadership if they are ready and willing to change the lot of the people.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people. And we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing politics of conmanship. And even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust.
For you to turn around and then stab
The same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Imabo.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we might find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice.
When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations, how you're going to decide cases. It's a no.
When you weaken the institution to the point where they cannot take action, then you realize that politicians have to come up and now start dealing with the issues.
That conversation has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day.
In this country, 6 families and 8,000 Kenyans control 90% of the GDP. We are not a country. We are a plantation. We work for Ruto.
When you're telling the judges court orders are papers or they will not obey court orders, they're sitting and you're seeking orders from them. So how are they supposed to interpret it? Isn't it an oxymoron?
When you see a judiciary that seems to be under some control somewhere, you start questioning. We have very powerful governors, but they don't use their offices to serve the people.
If you are not shameful to do what you are doing, why should we protect you?
I'm human. Everybody's human. So when you're told, kuja tuongee, I mean, you'd be a fool to say, stagi kuongea today. Conversations have to be had, you know?
People in leadership should only go into leadership if they are ready and willing to change the lot of the people.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Mimi, I'm very fine, thank you.
Me too.
I must say, today I'm very fine.
Yeah?
Even if I'm not, I am professing and proclaiming and manifesting fineness.
Fineness.
Bas.
Fine things all day, every day.
Indeed.
Nice. I loved the praise and worship session in the morning.
Yeah.
That was really welcoming.
So it's been established that Rocking Rio from Radio Maisha and myself and yourself have formed a praise and worship group.
Kabisa.
Whether or not it will be an everyday affair is a totally different story. But today we started the day praising.
Yes.
And you know what? It's Rio's birthday. And I can announce to the world that Rio finally is a man.
Third floor.
Rio has turned 30 today. So I know he's on air right now, but you know what? Brothers and sisters in this business, Radio Maisha, and he's leading the pack at Radio Maisha this morning. Happy birthday, Rio. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Rio. Happy birthday to you. You should see Rio on a Monday.
Yeah.
He comes in like the dog ate his homework. It's been rained on. And then as he was getting dry, it started to snow. And then he fell down a mountain and collected all the mud. It's like his world has ended. And then you should see Rio
on a Friday.
it's like he swallowed rainbows and is emanating gold dust.
Looks
it's
like
crazy.
a flower that is blooming in the morning.
It's crazy. It's
or a
like,
sunflower that is just switching, looking for the sun.
I'm telling you,
Yeah.
it's unbelievable to see those two different people in one person.
Mm-hmm.
Well, happy birthday, Rio. We love you, and always great to see you every morning.
Always.
Kabisa. And may you
many more.
May you have many more. It's Friday. Good morning, everybody. It is 6:15. Dennis Aseto is doing fine. I can see.
Yeah.
With one Dennis down, it is Friday. The show will continue. EVE is wearing a hood. I don't know, is it because you are cold or you're just feeling gangster thug life? Basio yengine. Okay, sawa. Then it's Black the hood. Then next to her is Joylene, who is in a baby blue dress. I mean, it's the world of contrasts.
It's cold in Nairobi, but we like it. We like what you see.
Good morning, everybody. Karibu Sana. It's the Situation Room. It's 6:15. And we're getting into things this morning. If you're tuned in to our live streams, YouTube, Facebook, and on X, Karibu Sana. And then there's Frank. Frank said, enjoy your show. And then I was saying thank you, but then you had already left. So we just need to keep things in tow. Our audience on KTN, good morning and welcome to the Situation Room this Friday morning. We're getting into things today. Did I tell you?
Tell me.
See, I left you guys yesterday here at about 12 o'clock. My house is maybe 20 minutes away. By the time I reached my house, my throat had closed up. I should just get these things removed.
Your tongue?
My tonsils.
Tonsils, yeah.
Had swollen. I couldn't close my mouth in 20 minutes. So I guess the infection, whatever, was festering. So I had to go get antibiotics, whatever. But again, I was almost not speaking. But Mungu ni nani?
Mungu ni nani? Mungu wa Isaka, Abednego na Yakubu.
Bas. Where are we? We are here today. Regardless, they have tried. They have sent them. They did not find me. And that's where we are today. We're getting into a number of conversations. It is Friday. To sleep. Okay, I was just going into things, right? Our Healthy Friday conversation today starts at 7 o'clock. And as we do every week, we're going to look at our health. We're going to look at our state of mind and all of those things. It's necessary for us to do. And today we're going to be talking about vitality and sleep health. The number of people who have to have sleep assistance, who have to take a sleep aid to then be able to sleep a number of hours is unbelievable. When, like, the group chats that you're in, and you find people sending messages at 2 a.m., 3, and then there are people who are responding and they don't sleep. Insomnia is real.
It's a problem.
It is. And the number of people who are now dependent on sleep aids is also growing. So we're going to be talking about that vitality and this issue of insomnia. And how then do we get around some of these issues?
Is it a first world problem?
Is it a first world problem that has been adopted by us? Because si unafanya kazi unalala. That's usually the attitude that we take towards some of these things, but it's not it's not as straightforward as we would imagine. Excuse me. Professor Kennedy Mbuki is a clinical psychologist. We're going to be talking about insomnia and vitality supplements, exploring their effects and their benefits. He'll join us at 7 o'clock as we have that conversation, even if you don't want to smile at us. You want to come here like a phantom. We will still see you and we will greet you because we love you.
Exactly.
EVE. Bas. She's here doing her things, but we will still recognize her anyway.
I like your nails. Looks really, really good. Shondu.
Very nice. I saw them yesterday. In fact, I did.
They look really good.
And she has gone just like a phantom. 8 o'clock. Lavish spending versus public services. That's the conversation that we will be having. I know everybody went crazy. I bit into a mandazi this morning and I was like, how many of these must I eat for them to cost 17 million shillings? Every day. Even if I invite my friends, my family, all from around the world.
17 million. You know what 17 million is? That is Alexa's LX 570.
Na umekula Lexus. Siku moja tu.
Imagine.
So I bit into it this morning and I thought, wow, those are many of these things.
How many Lexuses have you eaten?
Ask yourself. The cost of priorities, that's the conversation that we will be having at 8 o'clock. Alexander Revi is the head of programs at the Institute for Social Accountability. And Stella Agara, brilliant lady, is a governance and security analyst. They'll both join us at 8 o'clock, and this is the conversation that we shall be having. Is it too much noise? Are we just saying, come on, governments must spend money in order to make money? Are you just making noise? Or are we saying that perhaps priorities need to be in check? Let's look at what that conversation will be with both of them at 8. And then we're going to end the show this morning at 9 a.m. with Peter Mbogwa, who is running the Police is My Brother initiative, confronting the menace of teen gangs. Too many a young person now have started getting into, well, I think it's been a thing for a while, but we're seeing the resurgence or the resurfacing of gangs, and we're also seeing that the makeup of these terrorizing gangs in terms of the age demographic is much younger. And so that's the conversation that we will have at 9 o'clock with Peter Mbogwa, because it's worrying. It's worrying for those whose young ones are part of these gangs. It's also worrying for those who will be victims of their onslaught. So this initiative is an interesting one. We'll find out a little bit more about the initiative, but also find out by then, what needs to be and how the society needs to tweak a little bit to make things different. Karibu, everybody. Welcome to the show. That's what we have in store today. Be part of the conversation and join us, won't you? We are still in Morocco. Today's the last day of Proverbs from Morocco.
Yes, and Morocco is one of the world's oldest monarchies with a history stretching back over 12 centuries, right? Now, the city of Fez is home to Al Qarawiyyin University, founded in 859 AD, considered the oldest existing university in the world. So, talk tertiary education, talk universities. Africa hosts the oldest university, the very first in the world.
I'm not surprised.
And Morocco's culture blends Arab, the amazing or the Berber, African and European influence. And one would talk about European influence due to the 13-kilometer distance from Morocco to Spain, right?
Yeah.
But let's go to the proverb today. And today we want to still maintain the positivity. The heart that loves you won't wrong you. The heart that loves you won't wrong you.
Yeah. That's interesting because I want to go then. We often think about love as this thing that I love you or that I have love for you. But then when somebody told me a couple of years ago that, love is not just a thing, it's a verb. It's a verb. It's something you do. It's a doing word. So in the things that you do, if you're said to be loving, then there's certain things you will not do. If you're said to be loving fully, there are certain behaviors that you will not imbibe. So truly, someone that does love you, there's certain things that they won't do. I agree that you can grow to love someone. We're not just talking about romantic love here. I mean, brotherly, there's a word for it. What's that brotherly love? There's a word for it. I can't remember, but there's a Greek word for it. But in the things that I do, I don't have to say it with my mouth.
True.
You will know whether I love you or not. And I think that love also comes in different degrees. We think that it's 100% full blast. No, I think love comes in different degrees. But by the things that I do, or the way in which I behave towards you, even if there is 1 degree of love in me towards you, you will feel it.
True.
So maybe it's also, a word for the wise that, the things we do should portray the love that we have for people.
Yes. And even most of the time when one would consider that those they love have hurt them, I think someone who loves you and recognize that they've hurt you, they will find a way of solving that problem, and that would come from a place of love.
100%.
When someone is correcting you and telling you the truth that hurts you, it's not because they hate you or because they see you indifferently. It's because they see the potential in you, hence they need to correct you and steer you to the right direction.
100%.
So love runs the world.
I love it. Okay. Essentially. Excuse me. And that's the way for us to look into it, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. Let's say hello to people this morning who have gotten into the room and already clicking in. In case you're wondering, yes, our live streams are up on YouTube, on Facebook, and on X. And for those of you who click in and say hello, so just taking in some comments from Facebook, we see everybody who's in this morning. Karibuni sana. And welcome to the show. Thank you for always tuning in and locked. Our folks who are on X as well, sending in your messages, thank you for keeping it here, even as we get into these conversations. Okay, so who is online this morning? Just coming in to say a quick good morning to you as we get into things. Sawa. Robert Tobago is tuning from Mombasa this morning, and good morning to you, Robert. Thank you for always keeping it here every morning. We know that you're on to doing things every day, getting into it, but you're here every morning, and it's not just somebody who's a fly on the wall, but really, part of the conversations. So thank you. We can always tell that you will be here every day. Peter Kiaria says good morning from Mombasa, and he's quoted Isaiah 41 verse 10. So do not fear, I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Amina.
Amen.
Isaac Ndirito says, good morning from Luxembourg. Good morning, great team. We need to hear from Senator Edwin Sifuna. Sawa, we've heard. We'll see. Hisa Daniel says, good morning, tuned in, and says, Ijumaa njema kwa ndugu zetu wa Islamu.
Juma Karim.
Oh, there you go. Jimmy Gakeo says, good morning and happy Mulud to all Muslims. Boaz Lianya says, good morning, tuning from Kitale. Good morning, Spice. Good morning to you, Boaz, and thank you for being here. Daniel Njoguna is also tuned in this morning and says, hey, tuned in with Hapuch Kagendo. Both of you are there in Embu. All right. We love you, Spice. Well, thank you for being here, Daniel Njoguna. Ayenda Derek is tuned in and he said it's another day that God has made. Indeed it is. Good morning, guys. Eric Orr, good morning to you. Izakale is buckled up, ready to be served satire with substance, laughter with legislation, and a reminder that politics isn't just for parliament, but that cousin who thinks WhatsApp forwards count as policy. Okay.
Gotta give it to Isaac.
I tell you, Isaac. I love the way your mind works. Anthony Ocheng says, good morning, Team Spice, tuned in from Luxembourg in Germany. Good to have you here this morning. It's interesting because Luxembourg is a country on its own, but there is a Luxembourg in Germany. Agola, finally Friday. Indeed it is. Good morning, Spices, she says. Good morning to you, Agola. Another one. Always here every morning, and even when you are silent, we see you. And so thank you for plugging in. Margaret Wanjohi is tuning in this morning. SpiceFM Situation Room. Happy Friday to all friends. Let's continue the great conversation. Let's do it. You help us do that. Edgar Mwangi is tuned in. Good peeps, it's Friday, listening from Nairobi. Duke FX is tuned in. Indeed, happy birthday to all the September babies. If you're born in September, happy birthday to you from now until the 30th. Sindo.
Kapsa.
Daniel Andama says, good morning, Spice family. Thika Road to is fine, but I'm disappointed. Kenyans looking how Nairobi's turning into Haiti with goons. Yeah, it's a bit of a worrisome thing.
It is.
Folks are getting, a bit, scared of walking into the city at certain hours.
It is crazy, man. It is crazy.
It is. Monica Njoroge says, good morning. It's Friday. Finally, Nakuru is listening. Dr. Venvik, good morning. I know. Mimi Hassan Joho. Jack Abila says, good morning, tuning from Lelan in West Pokot. Boangi, we see you. For this far God has brought us. Indeed he has, and it is a blessed Friday. Antonina Kehika, I sleep for maximum 5 hours and I have to be very tired. Good morning. Really? You have to be very tired in order to sleep? Wow, okay. Well, these are the conversations that we'll be having around 7 o'clock. Insomnia is a thing for a lot of people. And I want, Antonina, just a quick question. Maybe you can answer that as you go along. It doesn't matter how tired you are. You'll find yourself awake at some point. And what are you doing when you're awake?
Yeah.
These are some of the questions that we'll pose to the professor at 7. Kwama, good morning and happy Friday to you too. Jeeps West is tuned in. He has decided to tell you. Wait, let Aseto decide is the God of who? He's the God of everybody.
But Abednego also prayed to God.
It was in the Bible.
It can also be God of Hindu.
It can be God of Abednego.
Hey.
There's no problem.
But I hear you.
But we get it. You want it to be Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. In this case, Ibrahimu, Isaka, na Yakobo. Sawa.
Exactly.
Ken Kagai says, good morning, Spices. Jimmy Munothi, good morning. Always good to see you here every morning as well. Karibu sana. Agutu Ogembo, good morning. And good to have you here as well. Michelle says, good morning, good you overcame. I'm telling you, Mungu sio kamao.
But Mungu ni Mungu wa kamao.
I'm telling you, I've never heard that before, but indeed. Michelle, amen. No. General Isa Mathenge says, good morning, tuned in from Ukunda in Diani. Samantha Maina, that is it.
Agape love.
Agape love. Thank you very much. That's the one I was looking for. Asante Antonina Kihika, you're right as well. Agole. Which one is Filali love? Filial. Oh, that's another one. Actually, yes. Thank you guys keeping us together. Yes, filial love. That's it. Brotherly love. Jimmy Gakio, indeed. Carol Nyambura tuned in now. Penda Sana, wishing you a blessed day. And to you as well. Soldier Boy is tuned in. Why is everyone gloomy in the studio? Which studio are we gloomy in? This one today? Tune in here, bro. This is where we are. Sir Brian Mutego is tuning this morning. Tuning from Sotik. Always nice to be with you. Abi, you're talking about the colors. I'm wearing black and gray. So is Aseto. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's black. Some semblance of gray and blue.
But my glasses are red.
Yeah.
Abi? Okay. Sawa.
Can confirm.
You can confirm.
Yes.
Nice weekend to you too. Tuned in from Sotik is Brian Mutego. Luca Biero says good morning. Tuned in from Kayole. Good to have you. Okello from Nyakach says Oyaore Uru Ndukod Aseto. I can almost guess. Good morning.
Oyaore Ahinya. Just say that.
Oyaore Ahinya.
Yes.
Did I insult somebody?
No.
Oh, okay, so
I'm not like that.
Atieno says, happy weekend. Good morning to you too, sister. Good morning, tuned in from Lukenya Hills is Eric Ohomo. Kento says, good morning, tuned in from Nandi. I love that name, Kento. Kennedy Ongwai says, good morning from Nairobi. Habari leo Spice family. Kimathi Nkrumah McConnell says, good morning. The place revolutionary journalism is born and is still alive. Thank you for being here. Owen Omula says, why can't you do a show for fans? How do you want it to be? You want to come to the studio? Want us to come to you? Yeah. Sema, just say, what do you want us to do? And
Should we open the phone lines?
We open the phone lines. We just talk. What is that? Give us your suggestions. Actually, that's a good thing for us to start on. Yeah. When you say do a show for fans and for the audience, what do you want? You want us to open the lines so that you can give us your views on certain topics? Do you want us to come where you are? What is it that you would want us to do?
Do we open a WhatsApp group for the fans?
Bas. Hizo vitu. The
Evelyn anasikia.
Bas. The operations boss. Nasikiza. Daniel Silala says, good morning. Kilifi, we are tuned. Karibu sana. Christina A, good morning. Again, Daniel Kagwongo, loud and clear all the way from the diaspora, Papua New Guinea. Indeed. Issa Mudu says, good morning. One twin Dennis is not here, but, we are here. Melbourne says, knock, knock. What if we say who's there? Melbourne. So now we're saying who's there. So you answer and tell us who. Tuned in from Uganda is Susan, or Suzanne, as it is this morning. Knocking on 6:30. Everybody, welcome. For those who are here and those who are making their way into the room, good morning and good to have you here even as we get into things. Sawa sawa.
Kabisa.
All right. Now, I can see Sugar Boy behind me, but okay. Excuse me. Let's look into the headline, shall we? Kenya's bold newspaper, The Standard. What's on the front page? Deceitful spending is what the headline is calling it. In an attempt to circumvent scrutiny, the government has, in select instances, spent taxpayers' money without parliamentary approval, exploiting a provision in the constitution that allows the Treasury to spend without House approval, only on emergencies such as natural calamities. So I'm going to stop there. Okay, let me finish the headline.
Okay.
However, the government has kept using funds not cleared by Parliament in total disregard for best practice in budget management, which smacks of deceit as Mwananchi struggle under the weight of high taxes. So this we know, according to the law, that if you're going to spend outside of the budget, it must have House approval. And even this House approval is coming from a fund for which you can only use in the state of natural calamity. Yeah. Floods, fire, famine, earthquake, things like that. Even in conflict, internal conflict or external conflict. What we're being told here is that there's been spending without House approval, and it's a no-no. Raila loses oversight role to new leaders. Vibrant youth political players and civil society have filled the vacuum left by the opposition after joining so-called broad-based governments. It would seem as though those who were in the political sphere have now taken over the position. Okay. Support push to dissolve Sakaja regime. A lobby is asking residents, and we'll look into the details of that. So maybe this is not quite over.
Yeah.
Hospital seeks court's nod to sell parents' property over 21 million shilling bill. Hospital is owed this money.
Yeah.
So they've said, look, we're owed this money, you guys can't pay. So how about we attach your property so we can get our money back?
Yep.
So this is the story on page 4 that leads to the headline. That comes from the headline, COB MPs accuse Treasury of evading House in fund approval. So it's not just the controller of budget, but it's also Parliament, members of the National Assembly, who are saying, hey, you are spending money, but we're supposed to approve this money before you use it. And we haven't done that. So there's a, spot of bother. as far as that is concerned. Well, this story is a tough one, and we're going to look into it. Tears for couple's first baby as wife dies during birth. This was not funny to see. It's the one that we talked about, Dennis Okari talked about yesterday, and it's a sad one, but we're going to look into it. It's necessary that we do. Sawa, over to you, sir.
Yeah, so let's go to the Daily Nation, and there's this story that happened 1 year ago, and it's the Hillside and the Russia Academy. It is 1 year later. Can you imagine?
Unbelievable.
Yep. So who failed them is the question. For the parents, time has stood still. Every memory of Hillside and the Russia Academy bound into horror and screams that fill the air on that fateful night of September 5th, 2024. A year later, authorities have no answers for how the school fire that killed their 21 children happened and why no one has been held to account. We can confirm that the school is still operating. There are some changes to the infrastructure in the school that happened at the time, but still the parents ask the question, how did it happen? Who slept on the job? And a shock of 1,000 public schools with less than 10 learners each still happening in the country, and gangs backed by powerful figures invade 400 acres in Kakuzi, as well as West Pokot wins Global Award. Now, Luke Kanyengareng, 51, a nurse at a health center in West Pokot, has been honored for his efforts in combating neglected tropical diseases that nearly killed him as a teenager. He received the award at a conference in Finland. If you go to page 2, there is the question of feeling hangover. Don't reach for that painkiller. You know, today is a Friday, and that, you know what's going to happen today in Sherehe. So if you have that hangover, find other ways of dealing with it and not the painkiller.
Yeah.
Lobby sues the state as prisoners turned away at Mbagathi Hospital. And that story of that nurse, and President Ruto directs change of terms for UHC medics this month. You know, our UHC workers have been on the streets for a very long time, almost 3 months now. Or more. Actually, it's more. Yeah,
it's more.
But now the president is directing change of terms for UHC. That's a story that we shall be looking into a little bit later. And the story of under Russia as we continue. And Ruto, our economic policies bearing fruit. Is that the case? Ukona pesa mfukoni, when the president says the economic policy is bearing fruit, is the mwananchi feeling it? Is the question that many Kenyans are asking today. And 2027 polls could be won or lost by 5.7 million new voters. Politicians will have to speak to issues affecting the youth to get their vote. So it seems as if the 2027 elections, that 5.7 million new vote will be the decider on who will win the elections. Interesting.
Very interesting.
You want to look at the Star?
All right. So on the front page of the Star this morning, Ruto reduces varsity fees to 25-year low. We're looking at that one again. Parents rejoice as government cuts university fees by up to 70%. Let me tell you, I think this is a wonderful thing because universities are opening at this time. I'm not even going to go to the how, where to, force of what, how. That this kind of reprieve, and it had come directly from the president and said, okay, guys, I see you and I understand the pain. Even if whatever it is, and this is a gift that you can open up and the gift keeps giving, this is a wonderful thing that has been done. The ASK, remember the show?
Yes.
Yeah. It opens in Mombasa. There is pomp and dance there. There are very many colors there. We see CS's Salim Vuria. We see Governor Ahmed Nasir, Speaker Amason Kingi. Also there is PS Jonathan Mweke, and they all flank President William Ruto. Of course, it's a show, that's what it is. But then it's also an expression of the ability of the agriculture sector in the country.
Yes.
So this is always a good thing to see. There's a World Cup qualifier against Gambia by the Harambee Stars tonight, and that's being played at Kasarani. Crime spikes as Nairobians battle muggers and violent robbers in the CBD. Now, you can be here thinking that it is a thing that happens at night, but it is not only. It is in broad daylight. It is not under the cover of darkness. And the question is, what is going on with these people and what's happening with security in the capital? Let's look into the Siasa pages. And is impeachment tool for manipulation and blackmail in politics? Is that what people are doing now with this impeachment? Wewe, vifanya vile ninataka ama otherwise taku impeach.
Pia lazima utulambishe.
Otherwise utaenda home.
Na pia tukikupigia simu lazima ushike, kwani who are you?
So is it a tool now? People are using it?
It's actually the question, because many governors are actually complaining that they're being twisted by the MCAs because they have the power to oversight and impeach.
Oi. Now, KMC, you know what that is?
Yes.
Kenya Meat Commission. Okay. It was sold. Sad tale of KMC from 180 million shilling surplus to a 365 million shilling loss. Losses where it could have been making a lot of money. We'll look into that.
So is KMC, is it still under the military?
This is a good question. I'm not quite sure.
You know, because I remember during the time when the military took over, especially the one in Kajiado, they actually turned over into profit real quick. You know, so question is, what has happened that now we're recording double?
And we started to see the different outlets of KMC in different parts of the country, isn't it? That you would now walk into a KMC joint and you could get everything.
Yeah.
Are those still there?
So let's just go back and find out the management. Then maybe we will find out where the problem is.
Okay, yeah, we'll look into that in a bit.
Yeah.
What else do you have before we look into some of these stories in detail?
So we have the Business Daily, right? So Business Daily. Accidents, car theft, insurance payouts hit a record 44 billion shillings. That means the insurance firms are paying more on accidents and theft of cars in the country. And 44 billion shillings, that's a lot of money, you know. And we have how Johnny Walker, Kenya can earn EABL 5.2 billion shillings. So Kamunyweso, as many would say, is earning EABL some good money. And if Kenya is to build a credible sugar industry, it must prioritize safety, transparency, and true local value creation. You know, there's some counties in this country for a very long time. The economies in these areas were run by the sugar factories in those areas. One of those is Migori County, Sony Sugar Company. People had money because the company was operational. So you had people being employed, you had farmers, you had cane cutters, you had everyone, including logistics, people who were moving the cane from the shamba to the plant and all that. But after the problems, now you can imagine all these people, including farmers, with their product nowhere to take it. So you just find that these counties, there's no money. It's crazy. Crazy.
Wow.
Yep.
Let's look at some of these stories. Okay, look at this one is a tough one to look into, but we need to look at the details of exactly what happened in this particular case. Tears for a couple as couple's first baby as wife dies during birth. So Tuesday morning, Faith Binzali walked herself into St. Joseph, the Worker Catholic Health Center in Kangemi. At 27, she was glowing with the anticipation of motherhood, ready to deliver her first child. But by nightfall, she was gone. Gone? Yes. The cries of a newborn after 9 months of waiting should have been the song of joy for her husband, Alex Ndongo, and her parents. But instead, it turned into a nightmare of unanswered questions and bloodstained memories after Binzali died on the operation table while undergoing a cesarean section. The family says Binzali endured long hours of labor before being wheeled into the operating theatre around 5 p.m. A decision they claim was without her consent. She was in good health and had no signs of complications, her husband said. They told us they were delaying the C-section because the second medic was not available. Okay? Yeah. According to the family, the hospital informed them of the death at around 7:30 p.m. after about 2 hours in the theatre. Her father, Bernard Babu, says, I was called around 6 p.m. and arrived when my daughter had been taken to theatre without consent from me or someone I had assigned to act on my behalf. I questioned, but the doctors held me back. I calmed though my heart raced. I was not at peace. Half an hour later, a nurse approached with what the family thought was good news, that the baby had been delivered safely. They told us to be patient, that the mother would wake up soon. He said the nurses approached them at around 6:30 p.m. to receive a bundle of joy. It was at this point, he said, they learned everything had gone wrong. The medics locked the theatre room and disappeared through the back door. I immediately broke in and found the body soaked in blood, said Ndungu. An autopsy pointed the finger at what transpired in the theatre. According to Joseph Ndungu, the government pathologist who led the post-mortem, the cause of death is lack of oxygen, what we call hypoxia. What happened in theatre, and this could be a complication of the anesthesia which the patient was given in theatre. Dr. Ndungu said they had taken body samples for further analysis at the government chemist to establish what kind of medication she was given. Dagoretti Sub-County Criminal Investigations Officer Aidan Bagaja on Wednesday said the matter is under investigation. According to Dr. Simon Kigondu, the most common cause of maternal death is postpartum hemorrhage, where medics fail to stop bleeding. If there was blood on standby for transfusion, they would have prevented her death under what we call massive bleeding protocol. In Kenya, 3,600 to 5,000 women die every year during childbirth, with PPH accounting for up to 60% of maternal mortality. Yesterday, a request to speak to the hospital's administration proved futile. The incident has left the family in despair. And the father said, "All I want is that the hospital give us answers. What happened to my firstborn daughter?" The husband, who described Binzali as his love line for the last 3 years, will take care of his first child alone. I'm stuck at, why did they disappear through the back door? If everything you knew you did was up to scratch, why did you disappear and lock the door and then disappear the back door? Why did you do that?
I'm stuck at why lie?
Why say she was asleep?
The mother will wake up soon.
Why say she was asleep?
Did they know that they just messed up, they'd fumbled this and couldn't face the family and tell the family the truth?
Crazy.
Because you see, if you look at what the doctor is saying, so now we start asking the question. She went through CS. Problem number one is there was no consent, because most of the time consent has to be given. The father says he never gave the consent, and even the person appointed to represent him never gave consent. Now we go to the next part where she went through a CS. What was everything needed to perform that CS there? Because remember, they waited for so long for the second doctor to arrive.
Yeah.
But then again, did we have blood at standby? Did we have oxygen? What kind of anesthesia was administered on her? These are questions that need to be answered here, because if you look at what the doctor is saying, it paints a picture of as if all these things were not there, because now we are samples are taken for further analysis to determine to know what kind of drug was administered to her.
I mean, my heart bleeds just to, and I get the shivers just to imagine things like this. And this is the state of things. Look, whichever you want to look at it, that is this day and age, somebody can run away from the situation.
Yeah.
That is the state of things. We're looking at the weekend review, and this is a story we are going to revisit. That is for sure. We're going to look into it again. But now, joining us on the line as we look into Lest We Forget and the week has come to an end is Kabando Wakabando, and we will get in touch with him just now to share some insights into the week that was. And saying good morning to Kabando this morning, if we can find him, EVE. Hello, Kabando. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
How are you doing?
We are doing well, and you all?
We're doing okay. It's been an interesting week, and wrapping it up, many things have happened. We've come off of a couple of weeks where the demand for accountability and the ceasing of corruption has been rife. We've also come into a week whereby governors have been at the tail end of a lot of finger pointing. Two of them, former and current, are arraigned in court. One of them may be being saved from the clause of an impeachment. And we also then greeted with huge spending when we cannot pay the bills, essentially. That's where we are. And as you always let us know, there are some things that we cannot forget. Kabando?
Yes, good morning, and once more, thank you for the invitation and hosting by SpiceFM. Yes, true, it is a very interesting week. It is not yet over. We still have tomorrow and Sunday, and expecting more drama as troops are unleashed to go to the regions, to the constituencies, to spew either logic for defense of the country or to escalate the drama that is ongoing. You know, what is happening is clear indication of the destructive leadership from the top. If you mention the issue of Kenyan sovereignty, that premiers very, very prominently the onset of our constitution, the sovereignty of the Republic of Kenya. You know, the fact that this week we have the Ministry of Defense and the Office of the President and the Commander-in-Chief not making a clear position on the issue that is now in public and international domain about the incursions of Kenya's territory in the northern part of the country. The territorial integrity of the Republic is very, very, very important. And the fact that we are having like jokes, because I saw something that happened very many years ago being repeated. In 1989, the regime then unleashed someone who was not highly regarded as a national leader to dwell on issues of the affairs of a state house. That time, the vice president was Dr. Josephat Jogona Karanja. And if you remember very well, he was the first occupant of the Court of St. James in London, the first High Commissioner to London, and the first African Vice Chancellor of the University of Nairobi. And he was just barely a year into the vice presidency after the Mulolongo elections of 1988. I can mention then director of the so-called Motor Vehicle Inspectorate, Kuria Kanyingi, was unleashed to introduce an issue to Parliament through another member of Parliament who was a backbencher then. And the issue dwelt on the country's leadership at the top. You see, the court poets and the agents of a regime can be misused to divert attention. This week, we saw a member of Parliament from that part of the country, again Kiambu, unfortunately from Limuru and from Kiaba, individuals who barely say anything in the Parliament, speaking on behalf of the government of Kenya on matters to do with Kenya Defense Forces, even mentioning that there could be an arrangement between Kenya and the breakaway forces in Somalia. The Jubaland forces.
Yeah.
So that it indicates a very serious leadership crisis. So it is not just about the issues very internal. We are increasingly getting worried that we are doing very dangerous politics with Sudan, with Somali. Remember recently, an envoy appointed to part of Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, was rejected by the president of DRC. So where is Kenya standing? In the slot or the space of civilized community of nations. Now look at the Central Business District of Nairobi. Daytime and nighttime, it is now a scare for civilians, for even traders, for children. To walk around the Central Business District, and the Minister of Interior, the Cabinet Secretary of Interior, Kipchumba Murkomen, just brushes it aside. Yet you have videos, you have citizens, residents. In the same week, you have the president and his partner in the so-called broad-based government weighing down on the County Assembly of Nairobi, which had crafted a petition to submit as a motion of impeachment for the Nairobi City County Governor. Again, devolving the mess that is at the top to the largest county and the capital county of the Republic of Kenya, we have every reason to be extremely worried.
So if we're looking at priorities, because this is a forms basis for conversations that we are going into, Kabando, we're saying that the very issue that members of the county assembly in Nairobi would have taken to the front, whereby we're saying the capital city, which I like to say is the pin on the map for East Africa, is going through so many of these issues. There's insecurity. People are afraid to walk into the city, and it's not at night, it's during the day, because these criminal gangs now have started to overtake, to bring some kind of uncomfortability into the city. If we're looking at the way the city looks, those are the issues that need to be faced, but we're still dealing with politics, and that's what it looks like, that we seem to have priorities twisted.
Not only that, look at even the capacity of what you would call signature institutions. Last week, we commented about something happening at the so-called Hustler Fund.
Yes.
That there was an attempt by the Treasury and other mandarins within the executive to compel the chief executive of Hustler Fund to sign off 10 billion Kenyan shillings, which is accrued savings. Every time there are transactions, there is 5% that is remitted to the account of savings, now accumulated to 10 billion. And within a few days, there was, musical shares. The CEO was removed, and the right person, in quotes, and I'm talking about politically correct, appointed ostensibly to foresee or preside over that transfer. Just within 24 hours, when Hustler Fund issue was boiling, one of the top blue chip companies in the continent of Africa, Nyeri, the chief executive was given 25 days of forced leave. So again, another musical shares in the central business district at Nyeri Towers. So much is happening around Nairobi. So much is happening in Mandela. So much is happening at the State House. For once, everyone confirms that the State House, the sanctity of the State House of the Republic of Kenya, where the head of state resides, and where other states, including accepting of the diplomats, the ambassadors to our country, and hosting other heads of states who come, has been converted into an arena of blatant political machineries, where people are being mobilized politically from various parts of the country to assemble, to be given handouts which are not accounted for. We are not being told whether they are the non-government organizations, whether it's a budget within any specific ministry, whether it is philanthropists who are coming, whether it's the private sector that is donating. It is just the culture that had gone away. But unfortunately, this is something that is not coming just now. I think since Jomo Kenyatta, to give credit, and to Moi Kibaki, those two republics, is when the issue of transactions for political purposes, monetary, were not executed. It's a culture that has been revived, and it is going to be to end up very badly.
So, Kabando, as we talk about what is happening in the country today, you realize that the citizenry feel as if what is happening, they are not being considered. You talk about the impeachment motion and how the two political leaders walk in to safeguard or secure the governor's position. You talk about corruption that is being fought in the country. And one would sit and say, it is not about us, the citizenry. It is about them. And if that's the situation, then how should Kenyans, finding solutions, how should Kenyans plan on rectifying whatever it is they are experiencing in the country?
Very good question. Beyond our complaints, beyond our lamentations, and even rantings about this problem we have, I think we need to take a pause and ask, do we have what we deserve? Are we receiving what we planted. We sow some seeds that are now ripening and are coming to our table as a menu because it's a policy that we choose. I think partly Kenya needs to ask herself a question as a republic about leadership integrity and where we need to go. And I think I need to mention this. In 2022, because sometimes lest we forget, because sometimes we may blame the leaders so much, as I am doing too, but forget about our own limitations. In 2022, in many parts of this country, people will not compete on issues when there was opportunity to do political campaigning and competitions on ideas. Remember, in 2022, one of the main candidates, of the two main candidates, one refused to go to a national debate. But now they're in partnership. He said he cannot debate a thief. He cannot debate an agent of impunity. That's what Raila Odinga said. He did not go to compete with Ruto. So Ruto debated on his own. In 2022, there are some areas you could not go and worship in peace if you belonged to another political formation, because our clergy, by and large, in most parts of the country, said they had a candidate. And that candidate is all now they are complaining is closing even church-sponsored hospitals and saying that he is now a perpetrator of lies. In 2022, in my own community, and I'll talk about even my own county, because it's a fact that I think we need to retrospect. We need to look back and ask ourselves, where did we miss the direction?
Yeah.
We had in my community, in my vernacular, what people are calling mokufia. To mokufia in my community means to dance as you are walking, pumping your feet on the ground.
Yeah.
Because you could go to some villages and you get almost all homesteads empty because voters, grandmothers, parents, their grandchildren, their children assembling in fields in various parts of the villages, so that they could wait for politicians to come. From morning, they would wait in one spot until evening for a politician to come and give 100 or 200 shillings to go and vote. So even as we complain about what we are getting, it was not completely unpredictable that the formations that are now reigning, and particularly the one that is occupying the helm of the state and reigning, had some challenges. I can quote the Secretary General of Central Organization of Trade Unions, KOTU, Mzee Atwoli Francis. He said repeatedly that if we elect William Ruto as the president, he is going to carry Central Bank of Kenya on his shoulders, and he is going to empty the coffers of the state.
Indeed.
But because of convenience of politics, within a few weeks of William Ruto taking over reins of power, Francis Atwoli and his brigade, and then followed by some Azimio bigwigs, they all added for conveniences for the state legacy and the conveniences of state power.
Yeah.
But what Atwoli said in 2020, 2021, 2022 is now coming to fruition.
And we see a lot of these things coming to fruition. It's necessary for us to continue bring them out. I mean, unfortunately, our time comes to, because coming to the top of the hour, Kabando, and we're looking to have more of your insights, as we normally do, into some of these things, necessary for us to discuss them. But do thank you for sharing with us this morning. And of course, introspection is necessary. Asante sana.
Asante sana.
Good morning at 3 minutes past 7.
Spice FM, Nakuru.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people, and we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing policy of conmanship, and even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Imabo, utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi. This is The Situation Room.
Good morning, this is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira. Details on the existence of ghost schools siphoning millions of shillings from taxpayers are expected to be released today as the Ministry of Education concludes a countrywide verification exercise. Education CS Julius Ogamba revealed that the audit, triggered by an earlier report from the Auditor General, will seek to establish the number of schools and learners before the release of capitation funding. Ogamba told the Standard that the verification exercise is the reason behind the delayed disbursement of capitation to schools. Ogamba said the ministry was validating student numbers submitted by head teachers and cross-checking them with records from sub-county directors of education. A civil society group has vowed to lobby Nairobians through collection of signatures to push for the dissolution of Nairobi County government, describing the move by President William Ruto and ODM leader Raila Odinga to scatter Governor Johnson Sakaja's impeachment as a betrayal to city residents. Kenya Bora Twitakayo claimed that the county government was insolvent, noting that while the 2023-2024 budget stood at 42.2 billion shillings, pending bills had shot up to 118 billion shillings. The group accused ODM and UDA leadership of being part of a conspiracy to defraud city residents and therefore needed to save Sakaja from impeachment. He is the group's spokesperson, Cyprian Nyamweya, speaking on Thursday.
The need to collect signatures to dissolve the county government of Nairobi in total. It is time to send the governor, his deputy, and all the MCAs home. We call upon all Nairobians to seize this opportunity to show that the people power is greater than the people in power. We particularly call upon Senator Edwin Sifuna to support this initiative.
Meanwhile, nominated Senators Tabitha Mutinda and Karen Nyamu have called on Governor Sakaja and MCS to iron out their differences. Nyamu noted that impeaching the governor would have led to chaos, as was the case with former Governor Mike Sonko, whose impeachment left the county government under interim leadership and eventually the Nairobi Metropolitan Services.
Everyone has a second chance. This is a very good opportunity for him to be able to bring his people together. Dialogue is always a leadership role. We encourage it so that everyone gets a win-win. The leadership, the people of Nairobi.
There's a lot of confusion that came in through with NMS. And the intervention is not about Sakaja. The intervention is about Nairobi County, the unique city, which cannot be parallel to any other county.
Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has called on Mandera leaders to step up calls for the removal of Jubaland forces who are allegedly occupying parts of Mandera County. Gachagua criticized Interior CS Kipchumba Murkomen for contradicting Mandera Governor Mohamed Aden, who confirmed the presence of the foreign group.
Majeshi kutoka Jubaland wamevamia Kenya, wako pale Mandera. Na hao viongozi ya Mandera hawakuwa wanaongea mpaka nikaongea. Saa hii waziri wa usalama anasema ati lazima wafanye uchunguzi. Sasa uchunguzi gani na hiyo watu wamekuwa hapo mwezi mbili? Hata waziri wa usalama hana habari hii watu iko Kenya. So tunauliza senator wa Mandera, wewe hapana ongea ukiwa Nairobi, enda uongee ukiwa kwa ground ukisaidia watu yako. Na wewe waziri wa usalama unashindana na governor. Governor ako kwa ground. Governor anasema iko magaidi Kenya. Wananchi wanasema iko magaidi Kenya. Iko shida pale, wameua watu 5, wamejeruhi watu 7, shule imefungwa, iko hali ya taharuki, lazima hawa askari waondoke Kenya warudi kwao.
On Wednesday, Murkomen said the government was unaware of any Jubaland forces operating inside Kenya, but will investigate the claims. He dismissed claims that schools in Mandera had been occupied and accused unnamed politicians of exploiting security matters for political gain. He was responding to Mandera Senator Ali Roba, who'd claimed that the foreign forces had displaced families in Mandera town, paralyzed businesses, and forced schools to shut down. That's the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamir.
Spice FM. Spice up your life.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we might find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice.
When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations, how you're going to decide cases. It's a no.
When you weaken the institution to the point where they cannot take action, then you realize that politicians have to come up and now start dealing with the issues.
That conversation has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people. And we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing policy of conmanship. And even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Imabo, utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, good morning. It's 11 minutes after 7 o'clock. This is the Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation on this 5th of September. Wait. It's already the 5th of September. My goodness. September's taking no prisoners, and we're moving along, getting towards the end of the year real quick, and things are happening at record speed. Karibu sana and welcome. Even as we get into things this morning, I want to send you somewhere on the 8th. Do you trust me? I want to send you somewhere on the 8th.
Why are you taking us on the 8th?
Okay, sawa. So what it is that depending on where you will be, but even if you will not be in that particular place, I want you to go to the... I'm just going to find it so that I send you to the right place. Have you been on those things where you get on the flight, you buckle up, and then, or the movies that you see, you get on the flight, you buckle up, and then you're landing in a place and you're wondering, the flight attendant is saying, "Welcome to Sao Paulo," and you're thinking, what? I was supposed to be where?
San Francisco.
Thanks. Where did I miss things? So, on the 8th of September, I want you to go to the City Blue Hotel in Mombasa. All right? And that's from 9 to 9 a.m. till 4 p.m. And then and that's 3 days from now. And on the 10th of September, I want you to go to the Boma Inn in Eldoret. And in Nairobi on the 13th of September, I want you to go to the Move and Pick Hotel. And so you're asking me, so what's going on there? Well, I'll tell you. It's your chance to own your future. It's the chance that you don't want to miss, because it's the Cradle Study Abroad World Fairs happening in Mombasa, Eldoret, and Nairobi this September on the 8th, 10th, and 13th, respectively. Every question, every query, every mystery, every myth that you wanted to confirm, deny, know more information about as concerns university education in specific destinations will be answered at this fair between 9 and 4. You can make on-the-spot applications. You can get information about visa. You can get information about accommodation. You can get information about the perfect destinations for the future career that you want. All of the questions that you have will be answered there. And then the folks in the different destinations are going to duke it out against each other and are going to say, come to us because we are the best, that kind of thing. You'll have an opportunity to inhale and deal with all this information at the same time. Let it marinate so that by the time you're leaving at 4 o'clock, you have all the information that you need. It's the Study Abroad World Fair, and Cradle does this thing whereby we don't need to guess, or you don't need to think maybe somebody's scamming me. Get onto the platform. They will match you to the great destination, 575 different institutions in over 50 destinations around the world. So this is university education matchmaking at its best, and you can figure out all you need to do by attending these world fairs. But we need you to register so you can be invited. Go to www.cradle.com or call 0799 000 444. Get into it. You need to. Because after that, when you make some money, Dennis will tell you what to do with it.
See, now, whenever you think about making money, question is, how are you making this money, and when exactly are you making this money? Because most of the time we have the problem of waiting until time has gone, and by the time you're jumping onto this, it's pretty late. So now here's a question of when, and Standard Chartered Priority Banking is telling you the right time for making this wealth is now, today, because they will help you plan deliberately with personalized advice. So when you talk about personalized advice, it is tailor-made to your liking, tailor-made to your needs. It is bespoke. It speaks of Ndu, it speaks of Professor, it speaks of Okari, So it is all about getting the advice that meets your lifestyle today and your aspirations for tomorrow. So now, whether you're building a portfolio or securing your legacy, Standard Chartered Priority Banking offers more than expertise. They offer you consistency, trust, and trust is really key whenever we talk about wealth, and true partnership, because wealth isn't just about money, it is about what it is you stand for. So for you to jump on these, you have an email that you have to send, wealth.ke@sc.com, because at Standard Chartered Priority Banking, your time is now.
Your time is absolutely now. And you know what? When night falls, or the time that people should be sleeping falls, people are very uncomfortable because they start saying, oh Lord, so now what am I supposed to do? Because I'm going to close my eyes for about an hour and I'm not going to sleep. And people like me will be like, what do you mean? Just close your eyes, put your head on the pillow. Rather, put your head on the pillow first, close your eyes and sleep. I mean, what's the problem? And then it will have to take an earth-shattering earthquake to wake you up. That's the thing that we're talking about. But for some people, it's a mystery and it's terrible. We're talking about insomnia and vitality supplements this morning on our Healthy Friday conversation. And Professor Kennedy Mbuki is here with us this morning in the hot seat. He's a clinical psychologist and he's here. Good morning, Prof.
Good morning. How are you?
I am very well. I slept well.
Oh, you did. Thank you.
I did.
Yeah.
Thanks. But I am also sensitive, and we are sensitive to the fact that many do not. And we are having that conversation this morning and looking at the reasons as to why this may be and what can actually be done about it. And we're also talking about trend chasing in the market today in terms of what's happening to battle this insomnia thing. So we'll go into some of these things this morning, but we want to welcome you to the hot seat of the Situation Room with today's proverb.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Prof, I also slept well.
Oh, you did?
Yes, just so we clear that off the table. Yeah, but then again, Professor, today we are in Morocco. And Morocco is a beautiful country whose tourism is off the charts. You talk about their garments, their carpets, really beautiful pictures that come from that country. But part of the history that stand out as well is that the very first and the oldest university ever to be known in the world comes from Morocco.
Yes.
And then again in 1777, they were the first country, again, it's a country of many first, the very first country to recognize the United States as a state. But let's go to the proverb. The heart that loves you won't hurt you. The heart that loves you won't hurt you. How would you interpret that?
The heart that loves you won't hurt you. I think, for me, I would say probably they would do things, but not intentionally to hurt you. But the way you interpret what they have done, probably for you, it might be something that is hurting. But in most cases, whoever loves you, they would want to do the best for you. But the best they are doing might not necessarily be the best for you. Yes.
Well,
Indeed. Love the interpretation. So, like we say, I guess just as I'm about to say it, I'm thinking about the irony of it. But going to sleep is a nightmare for a lot of people.
Yes.
It's not the dream situation, essentially. And let's start off with some definitions as we're looking into this thing. We hear insomnia all the time. It almost sounds like a trend where someone says, well, I'm an insomniac. It's not a good thing. What is insomnia?
Insomnia, for me, I would just go it the layman's language. Insomnia is where somebody is going to bed, wanting to sleep, but then they do not have a continuous sleep. They have interrupted sleep. So, and it continues for some time. So, say for example, 7 days, you sleep. Wake up, sleep, wake up, sleep, wake up. Every time you go to bed, you want to sleep. You sleep for a short time, you wake up, sleep for a short time, you wake up, and all that. So that is where we would say somebody is developing insomnia. For some people, sometimes they can be awake for 2 or 3 days, but that's really, really dangerous. Yes.
Awake for 3 days?
3 days. Yes.
I don't understand.
That they go to bed, but they're not able to get sleep. So they are just awake. They go to bed. They're actually in bed, but they are not asleep. Because, sometimes we always imagine that every time somebody has closed their eyes, they are actually sleeping. Because sleep is altered state of consciousness. Yes, it's just an altered state of consciousness. So you find, for example, that somebody is not really conscious of the environment at that particular time, and sometimes, so when you close your eyes, you are closing out what is present around you. So sometimes you might be thinking so and so is asleep, but then they are actually not very much asleep. But again, when you talk about sleep, it's in stages. We have the first stage, the second stage, and then we have the stage that is very important for sleep is called rapid eye movement. Yes, it's very important because just think about it. There are times when somebody would be maybe on a busy day, they just put their head on a table and then they sleep, and when they wake up they feel really refreshed,
like a power nap.
Yes. Yes, like a power nap. So that at that particular time, they actually experience rapid eye movement. It's not a very long period. And so that's why you find whenever somebody goes to bed, and they wake up in the morning and they're feeling really energized, they're feeling rested, then they had a good sleep.
I need to understand, because I'm just going to pick apart the words. When you say rapid eye movement, I would imagine that the eyes are moving really quickly.
Yes, but then
we're talking about sleep, whereby we would want everything to be relaxed.
Yes.
How do the two come together?
When we talk about rapid eye movement, it's a phase in sleep. That's how we would interpret it. It's a phase in sleep. But it's not like your eyes are open, then they start moving. No. Your eyes are actually closed.
I know people who sleep with their eyes open, but that's another story for another day.
Yeah. But in this case, your eyes are just closed. But that particular time is like they move very fast.
Okay.
Yeah. So that and it's a very short period. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are the reasons why one would be awake or unable to sleep? Why would one be unable to sleep for such long periods of time? We're talking earlier with Aseto, and we're all part of these many chat groups. And maybe you come later on in the day and that you find that folks were up discussing things, and there was not a party, or if there was, I was not invited. But it's 2 a.m, it's 3 a.m, and exactly thousands of messages, and it's by certain people. It's not by everybody, but it's by certain people, and it's a repetitive behavior. And so you wonder, what's going on here?
Yeah, when we talk about insomnia, there are various reasons why somebody would probably develop insomnia. One of them is alcohol use. So, like when somebody uses alcohol, in most cases, if they are getting to that stage of addiction, then probably the sleep will be interfered with, such that if they don't quite take a drink, then they might probably not sleep.
Okay.
So that is one. Two, if you say, for example, you have a particular condition, a medical condition, that you are in pain, so the pain would keep you awake, and you're not able to sleep at that particular time. Three, you find, for example, if you have so many activities during the day, and those particular activities that are lined up, you don't kind of like conclusively end them. It's just like a computer. You see, if you open so many programs, and then you even leave the computer, you're not touching it. The programs are running, really. So it's not like the computer is off. The programs are running, and therefore, so it means if you close up the computer, then now it will be able to maybe run better and all that. So you find that many people who have a lot of activities to do, and those activities, maybe they did not kind of take and resolve every activity and so on. So they keep kind of unconsciously begin to postpone. So when they go to bed, the mind begins to rearrange. They're like, when I wake up in the morning, I want to do this, I want to do the other, and maybe when I'm doing this, I should not forget this. So you don't imagine that you are engaging your mind throughout. The other reasons is sometimes we have gadgets in our bedrooms. Like when you go with a TV, you go with a computer, you go with a phone, and then you have sockets that light up in the bedroom. That would easily keep you awake. Those particular lights, and especially the blue lights, they would keep you awake. The other thing is if you have had a conflict, and this particular conflict, I liked how you started it. A heart that loves you won't hurt you, So you go to bed and you're like, I thought so-and-so loved me. Oy. Why would they be doing this? And probably the person is sleeping next to you, or maybe they are not even next to you. But you're wondering, really? Did they actually do this? But this is taking a bit of time. And before you know it, it's morning, and you wake up and you go and do other things. You never resolved it. The following, in the evening, as you go to bed, again that happens. That in most cases would keep you awake. The other reason could be, apart from a conflict, you go to bed, and when you're going to bed, you have an engagement tomorrow, which is very exciting, and you're looking forward to it, and you're like, I can't wait. This is a big thing for me, and probably that big thing for you, it turns out to be good, or it might not necessarily turn out to be good. But then if you don't resolve it, you will keep on thinking about this. Really. You keep on thinking about this. So there are quite a number of reasons that would keep somebody awake. Some of them might be very positive, yeah, but others could be negative. Or even say, for example, you have just talked about chats. I'm on phone, and then somebody begins a very hot discussion, and you're like, no, I don't want to miss out on this. So you're on and you're on and you're on. Before you know it, it's late. So by the time you're going to bed, because you see, what happens with sleep is one needs to develop a cycle, because it's a cycle. So it's like, if you are supposed to be sleeping at 10, and you consistently sleep at 10, the moment 10 is approaching, your body begins to go to a refractory kind of position. You want to sleep.
So, Doc, you see, when we started, there's as you're giving us the chronology of events now, you realize that in the current setting where we find ourselves is, I go to bed, perhaps I would need to text my significant other good night. A conversation might be sweet, you're on your phone. Or because I have proper internet connectivity in the house, I have 2 televisions, one for the children in the living room, I have another one in the bedroom where I follow up, I will catch up with the movies that I like. Or most of the time, because I like these beautiful lights, so I have RGB lights under my bed because,
Dennis is describing his life.
His life.
In case you were wondering. So you can diagnose problems.
So I want to set the mood and the tone. Or on the wall, I have, nowadays you have a socket that has this red light.
Yeah.
But you realize for you to sleep, personally, I can't sleep where there's light. Even my socket, I've put a black tape, so that I'm able to sleep. But you find a lot of people are doing this and they say they are insomniac, but you follow it is based off things you do at home.
Exactly.
It's not necessarily because you have a condition, but it's because you have conditioned yourself by what it is you do at night. So in such situations, I'm unable to sleep. How then do I say, perhaps it's the TV, it's the phone, it's the RGB light that I have in the house?
In most cases, I would say it's better for you to have a discussion with a therapist, because you see, sometimes, I always tell colleagues and people I meet that when we talk about issues of mental health, because, being a mental health specialist, I always tell people it's always good to talk about certain things. And the more you talk about them, as you talk about them, you think through what you're talking. At some point, some kind of an aha light will just, okay, I could be, this could be the reason. Because you see, I like when she was saying that, Dennis is describing. So, I would easily really say, okay, so if this is the kind of setting of the bedroom, probably this is what it is. But for me, I would say, one, go for therapy, not because you are insomniac or something like that, but just because you just want to understand how your life is going, your lifestyle, and all those kinds of things. And because there are a lot of changes that are happening daily. The other thing is just for purposes of education. Sometimes we have people who are specialists in certain areas. They would be able to tell you, for example, a bedroom setting, a bedroom is just not a bedroom. One, you cannot have your bedroom in such a way that your bed is on one side, facing one side all your life. No, it shouldn't. You cannot have your bedroom the same color throughout your life. No. Like maybe you would change the curtains, you would change probably the beddings, you would change certain things within the bedroom. You would declutter the bedroom. At certain times you introduce certain things in the bedroom, because then you're giving yourself life within the bedroom. The reason why people would want to go for alternatives, like maybe if I take supplements and so on, is because they are finding life really going very fast, and yet they are not keeping up to the pace.
Just for clarification, we are talking about furniture in the bedroom. We are not talking about changing people.
No. We are not talking about changing people in this case.
Just to be sure.
Yes, you're very right. It's not changing people. A bedroom, you could be staying in the bedroom alone. So it's not about changing people in the bedroom. Of course, there are those who are married and all that. So what I'm saying is the items actually, because people are not items. So the items within the bedroom, it would be nice. I would recommend, personally, that some of these changes are made, because you're injecting new life in that particular space.
Okay. Now, there are certain things that happen before we go to sleep. What we eat. Usually, I'll never forget when my teacher is when we're younger, and they would say, eat breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, and supper like a pauper. So that you should eat your lightest meals at the end of the day, if any, at all. So if you eat a heavy meal at night, what does that do to how you will sleep? That's one. And then you talked about the mental state of things, and we see the word depression in the comment section popping up quite already. And does a state of mind then, is it possible to keep you awake before we then come into cures for insomnia?
Let me begin by saying the eating habits. Actually, we always encourage that before you go to bed, avoid stimulants. Foods that would keep you awake. There are those, but it also depends on people. We have different people who they would eat something. For somebody, it would be a stimulant. For another person, it might not necessarily be a stimulant. But then one should always remember that if I take, say, for example, tea, or I take coffee, or I take whatever, ginger or something like that, it would keep me awake. So if you know that would happen, then it's important for you to avoid. Again, when you eat in the morning, you need to eat enough food in the morning. Why? Because you need energy. You are going to walk around. You're going to work and all that. And so your brain requires to kind of be revitalized, get the food that you require. But then now, when as the day progresses, your energy levels, of course, you are spending them. But now, in the evening, when you eat a heavy meal, digestion needs to happen. So when digestion is happening, that's why sometimes you find you feel sleepy when you eat, which is okay. But then now, when you eat a lot and you're going to bed, it will actually interfere with your sleep. Just think about it. For people, if you have actually interacted with people, they will tell you that there was a time I had a nightmare. Try to inquire when you went to bed what had happened, and in most cases they would have overeaten. Exactly, yeah. So it's always important for us to eat just light meals, or eat earlier. Even if you want to eat a heavy meal, eat earlier, so that by the time you're going to bed, your stomach is not as heavy as it were. So then you'd easily be rested at that particular time.
Okay.
Now, yeah, and then you're talking about depression coming, the state of mind. Yes, the state of mind when you're going to bed is critical. That's what I would say, actually, because that is what would help you to either sleep or stay awake. Because you see, just think about it. You had been looking forward to doing something, then you have completed it. You just feel like, and you want to rest. But you see, if you go to bed and you are still engaged with, because when you talk about depression, we are talking about a heavy emotion. You're having emotion that has a lot of weight. You're thinking of, like, will I make it? And do I have any hope? And again, like, for people who, say, for example, could be going through some form of depression. But when you talk about depression as a disease, it's totally different from the way somebody says, I'm feeling depressed, or stressed. Even when you talk about stress, there are different levels of stress. So one has to really be very clear what they actually mean
by that.
Yeah. So it could be just for a short time that I expected this to happen, it didn't happen. So I'm feeling very, hopeless at that particular time. But then now, if that happens, when you go to bed, actually catching sleep would be a bit difficult. Yes. Yeah. So the state of mind is very key.
So, Doc, most of the time, when I just have conversation told it's proper that you sleep 8 hours, right? But then there are realities of life where it's work, it's whatnot. You get in the house late, or you left the house, or you left workplace early, but there's traffic. You get to the house late, dinner, shower, you catch up with your people. It's 11. You wake up early, say 3-4. So your hours of sleep are limited, not because you don't want to sleep early, but because of just how life is. Or you follow your coach, your life coaches out here, and they tell you, for you to make it in life, 3 hours max is what you need. You can't be sleeping some more. So put all these things into consideration. And questions being asked as well is, how many hours is a good hours for someone to just sleep?
How many good hours? That's a question I get almost all the time when we are talking about sleep. It depends on age.
60.
If a baby would sleep for even 12 hours, and it's okay, because again, what are they going to do anyway? But then as you grow older, you find that you have more, responsibilities to attend to, which is okay. What I would recommend, for me, I would say that plan your day. When you have planned your day and you say, for example, I want to be sleeping, even if it's just the 4 hours they are talking about, you still can sleep for 4 hours and you're rested. So what you do is you tell yourself, I'll be going to bed at 11. I'll be out of bed at 5. So you now develop some discipline. You know, I one time I was telling somebody that the current child has not been taught delayed gratification. They want this and they want it now, and so when it means they need to delay, they are not able to do it.
Sure.
If they need to be patient, they are not able to do it. And then when it comes to making choices, they are not able to make really nice choices at that as it was. So I would say that come up with a policy and tell yourself, the moment it is 11, it doesn't matter who it is, it doesn't matter what it is, I am going to bed. And there are some people that even if I call them at such a time, they will not pick. And everybody, your friends know, and so on, so they never bother. But if you keep on availing yourself that you're always available, they can call you. Anytime they call you, you'll pick. And yet it is night. Then you actually inviting them to disturb you, and you're inviting disturbance in your sleep. So you just decide, if it's 11, please don't call me. And even if you call, I will not respond to it.
Yes. And that's okay.
And it's okay.
And it's okay.
Yeah. I mean, the world won't stop because you didn't pick the call. Yeah.
Okay. So in dealing with insomnia, which, looking at the different reasons that could cause this, there are folks who are actually dealing with it, and they really wish I really want to, in the way I would, because for me, and maybe insensitive to a point, I would just say, what are you talking about? Put your head on the pillow, close your eyes, go to sleep. Very simple. But for a lot of people, it's a nightmare in order to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And it's a bit insensitive for those who can sleep like that to speak to those who cannot in that manner. But at the same time, it's also difficult to understand why somebody wouldn't just be able to close their eyes and go to sleep. And so the trend now in the market is to have sleep assistants and drugs. The big ones come into play. Antihistamines are used quite often. Somebody's going to take cough syrup not because they have a cough, but because the antihistamine in the syrup is going to give a drowsy effect, and they overdose on that so they can sleep for longer periods. That is a thing. Alcohol. There's a comment here that we've seen that if I don't take a shot of something strong, I will not sleep. So you take a shot of something strong, it knocks you out, and you can sleep for a couple of hours, or maybe more than you normally would if you didn't. And then we've also seen the market trend today of melatonin. Melatonin, and maybe you can explain what that is to us, that folks are going. Dennis Okari is not normally here on Fridays, but he told us just the other day that he went to a pharmacy to make a purchase, and the pharmacy told them that this melatonin that you see here is the fastest selling drug it used to be the emergency contraception.
Yes.
Now melatonin is the fastest selling drug from pharmacies. And a bottle of it is 9,000 shillings for the month. But it goes off the shelves like crazy because people are taking it in order to sleep. So it points to two things. One, there is an insomnia issue in our society.
Yes.
But at the same time, there is a dependence on drugs in order to sleep. Not to cure the insomnia, but to sleep. So are these ways to deal with these issues? And if we're looking for a cure, the cure is not to sleep. The cure might be the sleeping is a byproduct. But what is the cure for this insomnia? So it's quite some, but let's see if we can look at that.
Yeah, so one of the, and I think partly there are a few answers in the questions, but I would want to say this, when you take a sleep enhancing drug, let me just put it that way, when you take a sleep enhancing drug, actually it's recommended that you can only be given for 3 days to assist you. After 3 days, you cannot continue, because then you are creating dependence and you will not be able to get out of it. So what I would encourage, I would say is, we need to get to understand what is a trigger for this particular person for insomnia, because the triggers for each individual is totally different. Every individual has their way, the things that have triggered. But again, I would say that even though that it's illegal, and I do not think a health professional would encourage anybody to keep, just keep taking melatonin. Yeah, just keep doing, because some of these things, the long effect is really terrible. Like even just the alcohol. We are talking about other conditions that would come because of that. You see, like when the pancreas is not able to now keep on processing what you're giving it, then what will happen? You will now develop diabetes. So you'll find you will not just now be dealing with sleep, but you will have another condition. Now, diabetes has now developed. So what we always would say is, let's look at the trigger. What is this that is triggering people not sleeping? One of the things that I have found out is that most people do not exercise. And when you ask them, why don't you exercise? They say, I don't have time to exercise, which is not true. Like even when we are here in studio, you can still exercise. You can lift your legs under the table. Nobody knows you're lifting the legs under your table and you're exercising. You can flip your toes. You can do a lot of exercises. At times when you are not busy, even though you're on the desk, you can stand. Stand up and walk around and do, just making sure you are having a lot of movement. So you find that in most cases, because people are not making any movements, they are not exercising enough, they are not checking on their diet. Like the current diet that most people are on, they are taking a lot of sugar. And a lot of sugar will actually also keep you awake, So I think for me, the most important thing here is for us to look at what are the triggers. What is this that is triggering people and the community not to be able to sleep? The other thing is you'll find these days people avoid resolving conflicts. You get into a conflict and you run away from the person. So you like keep away from their company. But that has not resolved. So, it will catch up with you tomorrow. So that is one thing that is happening. The second thing that is happening is people are looking for money, and they are looking for money in a way that they are desperate because they are competing. Peer pressure. I used to think peer pressure was among children. Now it is worse among the adults. So Dennis has bought a car. I must drive as well. Dennis has built. I must be. So you'll spend a lot of sleepless nights thinking how you are going to get money to be able to buy the car that Dennis bought. And yet Dennis probably comes from a family where they're supporting him in one way or the other, or he has other means of getting. So that unnecessary competition is not necessary. I always tell people, even if you had millions, you can only eat one plate. Even if you have millions, you can only drive one car. You can only sleep on one bed. The hours are only 24 hours. Relax. The more you relax and get contented, the better. Because most people are very discontented. And because they are discontented, then they start looking for ways and means of being able to fit in. That is the other thing. Just trying to fit in. Yeah. And because probably like I met somebody who asked, how did you start drinking? He said, it was just social drinking. And now he's drinking more than the person who introduced him.
So, Doc, you see, there is all that we're discussing. Yes. And most of the time, as Ndu has said, we rush to the chemist to pick up the drug, right? Yes. Because that is the easiest way out.
Yes.
The difficult part is to sit down, Okari would say, zoom out, look yourself, and find out where the rain started beating you.
Yes.
Because everybody would tell you as a child, I used to sleep well. At some point in life is when that stopped being the case.
Yes.
And that means that as individuals, as adults, it is proper for us to, first of all, talk about our problems. It's proper for us to seek medical attention and advice and assistance.
Yes.
But this do not happen because look at the stereotype that is associated with people suffering from mental health. People don't want to talk. I come to you, perhaps I even want to hide or come in the evening so that no one sees me walking inside your space to seek for help. Which brings us to health-seeking behavior, especially
among the men.
Yeah. So how do we deal with this problem such that if I have a problem, let me deal with the problem and not rush for these vitality medicine?
Yeah, I think organizations need to begin to create awareness. At some point, I was telling some CEO, I was saying, sometimes just invite us. We might not necessarily ask to charge, but we can come and talk to a group of people, to the organization, to the staff. When you are all of you are seated there, and then somebody comes and talks about something, and you kind of normalize it. So and the moment one breaks the shell and comes, you will find 2-3 other people coming up. It's just like, say, for example, you do a lecture and you ask, is there any question? Nobody's raising their hands to say there is a question. But the moment one person raises their hands and they say, I have this question, you will see everybody is now asking. So I think one of the things we need to do is to ask organizations to be able to create that space where people can be able to talk about issues and all that. And even in families, we need to allow ourselves to be vulnerable. You see, for example, if you have adult children, and not necessarily even adult children, how many parents can allow their children to come and express themselves? And express themselves in such a way that say, for example, Daddy, I think you are wrong. And you take it and listen to them. Most people would want to be very defensive. And it's not necessary to be defensive. So if we can begin to create those kinds of spaces where people can talk about their issues, they're like, this is what is happening. I encourage families, before you go to bed and sleep, get some time. Even if you are Christians or Muslims or whatever, not necessarily going to pray. You can pray, which is a good practice. But just have that little time, and you say, we just want to find out quickly how your day was and so on. Is there anything that needs to be addressed and so on? I started that in my family, and bam, all my children improved at school. Yes, they improved. Now, the adult children now, some of them are practicing, one is a doctor and others, they have done very well. But we would sit down and we say, how was your day? The day was like this. Mwalimu asked me for this and so on. I was not able to do this and so on. I would also be vulnerable and tell them, my day was good. However, as I was coming, I delayed, there was this and that and all that. Let me tell you, there is a time when the child would tell you, but I was wondering why you are so quiet and you are so withdrawn. We were trying to engage you and you don't want to engage with us. In fact, I started feeling like you hate me. You don't like me anymore. You don't want to talk to me. I'm like, no, I had just stuff I was dealing with, And so you can imagine a child is beginning to behave that way and so on. So I'm thinking that we need to begin to create those spaces. And there are safe spaces where we can be able to talk about this. I guess this is one way of doing it. When we are able to talk about it like this and everybody is listening, they're like, oh, okay. Okay.
Or that I'm not alone in this.
I'm not alone in this. Yes. So the more this is done, I think the better. Actually, right now, I would tell you, it's much better. In mental health, now we can see quite a number of people. I was telling somebody, do you know when you want to take a loan, you need to talk about it. When you now have the money, you need to talk about it. Plan. Because you see, for example, you apply for a loan and you wanted to build, and probably the amount of money that you have actually taken is not enough to complete your house. You need to begin to plan. How am I going to get the rest of the money to be able to finish it? Because if you don't do that, you're actually inviting insomnia. Because you have a loan you are paying. You don't have another income you don't have the house. So, but if you talk about it and you plan, you are able to avoid so much. Yeah, so you avoid so much. So I'm thinking we need to do that. The other thing is just getting to have groups. There is a group that we were starting in Kisumu of men. And bringing men together is not very easy. Of men. Men will tell you, okay, what are we going to do? So they want a project, do it, finish it, and disappear. But then we were coming up with a group where we would be able to just come together. Just have fun. Not really talk about serious things. Just have fun. And just those small groups, you'd realize people have so much stuff to talk about.
Indeed.
Yeah, so much.
I want to go back to this melatonin issue because we know that melatonin is a naturally occurring hormone.
Yes.
We have it.
Yes.
Now, for those who are advised to then take it as a supplement, does it mean that there is not enough, or that are there external factors that are inhibiting the production of melatonin that then obstructs sleep?
Yes. Yeah, you have put it right. And you are only advised to boost.
Okay.
And it's just boosting for a very short time. And actually, they are normally external factors that cause the inhibition of melatonin production. But it's a natural hormone that gives us the sleep cycle. Yeah, the sleep cycle. But again, just as it is, for example, like every other hormone, you'll find, for example, the male hormone, testosterone, begin to drop as somebody grows older. So it means you have to do those activities that would boost it.
Okay.
Yeah. So for me, that's the reason why I brought in the issue of exercise, because when you exercise your body, then your body begins to get back to the regenerating, the normal, natural hormones. They come in. Yes.
I want to ask a question, because this has come up a couple of times as well, that there's some folks who work at night.
Yes.
Right? Because of just our world.
Yes.
So at the time when, because we assume that nighttime is for sleeping, so what can you do to ensure that you get the sleep? Because then during the day, there's a beehive of activity, other things are happening, and you feel kind of odd sleeping during the day. But do you force yourself? You said just relax. Can you do that? Force yourself to then sleep during the day, create a nighttime effect, use a sound machine? What do you do to ensure
you actually don't need to use a sound? You can if you want to, but again, for those who sleep at night, work at night, and they should be sleeping during the day, what should happen is, as I said, agree on the time. Agree with yourself. It's not an advice. Agree on yourself. Like, if I'm working and I leave work at, say, for example, 8, and especially for us in the medical field, you are handing over and so on. So you are leaving at 8. And then you get to the work maybe at 9 or 10. What you need to do is you need to take a shower. After you have taken a shower, then you take something warm to warm yourself up, and then check on the room temperatures of your room. If, say, for example, during the day it gets very hot, then probably just cool down the room, and then try as much as you can to create that effect, arresting effect. One of the ways you can do is to learn how to breathe. Most, you would think that breathing is a natural thing, that so people should just breathe naturally.
I mean, surely open your mouth
and breathe out. No, for some people it's quite something big. So what you need to do is learn to breathe. When you breathe in and out, and so on. So you oxygenate your body. The relaxing effect comes in, and make sure some of the things that we talked about, switching off the lighting systems around and all that, the moment you have done that, you actually should be able to sleep. But then that's why you find, for example, for those who work at night, they always have those other days off. For example, you'll work 4 days at night, then you have 4 days off. Yeah, because you can be able to recover. So when you have those days of recovering, don't go for locums. Sleep. Yeah, because the temptation of like, it's daytime, so I can get some money. And that's the reason why I was saying it doesn't matter how much somebody earns. People are living in this city who earn 20,000 and they are very comfortable, and there are people earning over 200,000 and very uncomfortable. Yeah, so it's not actually in how much, it's that environment you are creating and the state of mind of contentment that you get to have that helps you to recover yourself very well.
Yep. So, Doc, we'll just go back to the example you gave in terms of conversations you've had with your children and how that changed the game.
Yes.
I remember this one time I was having a conversation with just male peers, and he just asked, how many of you can remember the last time you hugged your dad? silence. When do you remember when you hugged your mom? Easy last week.
Yes.
You know, it is a conversation that is there.
Yes.
And when I told them, my dad, anytime I hug that I call him ninja. I hug that ninja anytime. You know, but you look at the environment that is created in terms of just having these conversations from a basic point of family, so that as children grow, they understand the importance of sitting down and having a conversation. You know, that parents create an environment where it is okay not to be okay, and that there is a solution to anything you're going through. So just how important is it for parents who are listening today to create that environment, you know, or for those who are not creating that environment to jump onto that and encourage just talking as one of the ways of finding a solution?
Actually, you'd realize that most parents who engage with family members, that they're having a conversation, and you don't have to have a serious conversation as it were. Yes, there are times when, like, you create and you tell everybody, by the way, tomorrow at such and such a time, nobody is going to be away. We must be around, especially if you are going to deal with sensitive matters. Especially for those who are having teenagers and adult children who are moving out and so on. So you want to put things in place. So that one you need to actually tell everybody, prepare for this. We need to have this conversation and be stern about it. But then parents need to become vulnerable. You know, we always have always known parents to be these strong superheroes and so on. It's important for your children to get to know that there are times when you are vulnerable. And it's okay to be vulnerable, you know, because when that happens, then you are creating, you know, an environment among the family members where they can now feel safe that, okay, so it's okay for me to talk about this. But, you know, if you don't do that, then it becomes very difficult for, you know, for the family members to feel that they can be able to get into conversation. And by the way, you were talking about a hug. I always tell people, a normal human being needs more than almost 800,000 touches, leave alone just hugs, touches, and natural touches and safe touches, not a beating or whatever. You know, a greeting, a hug, a touch, a pat. Every time you do that, there is, you know, you are creating confidence in that person. The person feels loved. The person feels important. The person feels wanted. But most people are always in a hurry. They don't have time. You know, even these days, of course, COVID came, but COVID is not here, really. And if it is, you can take precautions. But at the same time, just get to have time. You can be able to hug. You know, giving love and receiving love is one thing that most people don't take.
That's a great place to end on. And I actually think that could be a billboard campaign that we put around cities. Hug somebody today.
Yes.
Don't be a creep, but, you know, hug somebody today at least. And, you know, it goes through. And then for us to then be able to get into sleep. One of the ways in which we start to move the needle is have conversations like this that are ordinarily comfortable for a lot of people, or like you say, for folks who are hiding in this place of uncertainty where they don't know if it's okay to talk about some of these things, but that you don't sleep at night and that you're getting a poor quality of life for whatever reason, is something to talk about. So we want to thank you so much for being here on a Healthy Friday discussion with us this morning. Professor Kennedy Mbuki is a clinical psychologist who's been talking about insomnia. It doesn't end here. We will need to continue talking about things like this. So thank you for doing this with us this morning.
Thank you.
Sante folks, it's 8:01. Good morning.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning, this is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira. Controller of Budget Margaret Nyakango is urging government officers to embrace the new electronic government procurement system, EGPS. This is after governors and members of parliament strongly oppose the digitized system, which is set to replace the manual process currently in use. Nyakango says the change is necessary and officials must align.
We need EGPS, regardless of the fact that the change has not been managed properly, and therefore it is going to create a lot of problems. No one is safe. Not me, not the Auditor General, not Parliament. Everybody is involved. We must make the best of a bad situation. Do not keep protesting, saying it is going away. It will not go away. People complained about IFMIS. They have been complaining. To date, as I speak to you, people still complain about IFMIS. Did we stop using it?
President William Ruto and Treasury CS John Badi have vowed to push the new system despite opposition. Interior CS Kipchumba Murkomen has announced a crackdown on criminal gangs to end rising cases of muggings on the streets of Nairobi and other parts of the country. Speaking at the Jukwaa Usalama Forum in Bungoma County, Murkomen said over 175 suspected gang members had been arrested in Trans Nzoia County as part of the crackdown and urged the police not to wait for orders from his ministry to tackle crime.
In fact, we've come to notice, and you've seen this conversation even in Nairobi and here in Bungoma, that part of the problems of mugging and violence is also being perpetrated by persons otherwise known as street children. But they are not children. They are of significant adult age, yet they pose as street children. They behave like they don't have homes, and they cause muggings and attacking people, both in Trans Nzoia here, and you saw them in Nairobi. Again, something is being done to make sure that that issue is addressed decisively.
At a separate event, Murkomen announced sweeping reforms in the National Police Service, including the first ever maternity uniforms for female officers.
The future uniform must include maternity dress for female police officers. Thank you very much. Just imagine that all the female police officers are recruited at 18, 19, 20, 21. So most of them are not even married. They are going to get married, they get children, and they have no uniform. That is, when they are expecting, they have a good uniform. And if you buy for them a good uniform, they will wear when they're having their first child, the second, until the last one. I'm not saying that one uniform.
The National Assembly Committee on Health is urging the government not to close hospitals and instead take action against officials or leaders implicated in mismanagement. The call comes after many hospitals across the country accused of defrauding the Social Health Authority were closed. The committee's chairman, James Nyikal, said the closure has left many patients without care.
It is better to look at where there actually faults, and if people that are involved action can be taken against them, but facilities allowed to operate. Because when you close a facility, people suffer. It's not the people who make the mistake that suffer. It is the people that need services. So we are going to take that position, sort out the people who have caused problems, deal with them, but let facilities operate.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio has said the U.S. will blow up foreign crime groups if needed, possibly in collaboration with other countries. Speaking during a visit to Ecuador, Rubio also announced the U.S. will designate two of Ecuador's largest criminal gangs, Los Lobos and Los Choneros, as foreign terrorist organizations. The comments come days after U.S. forces carried out a strike on a boat in the Caribbean Sea. The White House says it killed 11 drug traffickers, though it did not release their identities. That's the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Ladies and gentlemen, do you have the charm, the confidence, and the charisma to steal hearts? The Hello Mr. Right auditions are here. Join us live at the Kenya National Theatre, Saturday 9th and Sunday 10th August from 8 a.m. We're looking for bold, authentic male and female personalities ready to shine on Kenya's biggest matchmaking show. If you're 18 and above, bring your A game, your smile, and your confidence. It could be your time to find love. And while you're at it, renew your StarTime subscription today and stand a chance to get upgraded to the next bouquet absolutely free. The all-new season of Hello Mr. Right is coming soon. StarTimes. Enjoy digital life.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people. And we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing policy of conmanship. And even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Imabo, utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
One of the things that I hate in our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
We're getting into 10 minutes after 8 o'clock. This is the Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation on this Friday morning. And the next conversation is right at the gate, raring to go. And as we get into it, let's talk, okay? Let's talk about what you want to do with your university, schooling. Let's talk about where you want to go. Let's talk about, do you want to go to a different country? Let's talk about which university you want to go to based on your aspirations for your career. These are all questions. They're up in the air like balloons. And sometimes you're not sure, okay, so what way do I go? Well, Cradle has the answers for you. And you ask me, Ndu, what is Cradle? Well, it's Africa's largest study abroad platform. It's helping students get matched and enrolled into 575 universities across 50 destinations. That's what it is. And it's matching you today with what you want to do tomorrow. And saying, you know what, in order to get from here to there, go to this university in this destination, and let's see how we can get it done. And now, in order for all of this information to get to everybody, what's happening is that on the 8th of September, the 10th of September, the 13th of September, the Study Abroad World Fair is taking place in 3 cities from 9 to 4 p.m. On the 8th of September, it's going down in Mombasa at the City Blue Hotel. It's happening at the Bomber Inn in Eldoret on the 10th, and at the Movenpick Hotel in in Nairobi on the 13th. You're going to have an opportunity to talk to university representatives. You'll have an opportunity to apply on the go. You'll talk about visa and accommodation support. There'll be the battle of the destination, so you can decide in your mind where you want to go. You need to get invited. It's free attendance, but let's invite you anyway. Go to the website www.cradel.com or call today 0799 000 444. Get your invite, attend, get all the information that you need so that the questions in the balloons will become answers. Right?
Yes.
All right. And
We
then
do. Now imagine you've created your wealth, you've struggled to build this wealth and a bespoke portfolio that you now have, and one day it's just poof, disappeared.
Gone.
You know, due to what? Bad advice and market downturns, because these are things that are unavoidable. But at Standard Chartered Priority Banking, all these can be avoided by getting proper advice. Now, Standard Chartered Priority Banking is telling you that they focus on wealth protection, risk management, and smart decision support. From safeguarding your assets against market shocks to guiding you with expert portfolio management, you get clarity and confidence for the long term. So it is not a question of I'm doing this for the next 3 years. It is all about today, tomorrow, and the future, because a little bit later, I'll be talking to you about legacy, what you pass down to your children. Now, whether it's real estate or global investment, the advice is personalized and strategic. Grow wisely, protect what matters, and plan for tomorrow. You start today by doing what? By sending that email to what? wealth.ke@sc.com, because at Standard Chartered Priority Banking, it's not just about bespoke, it's about your time is now. So start emailing.
there you go. Do it today. And speaking about spending money, protecting money, the week that was took us into maybe what would be met with raised eyebrows in terms of what? Did we know that that amount of money was available before we even talk about it then being spent? Because we're being told that there is scarcity in resources for certain things then for us not to be able to do. That forms the basis for a conversation that we have this morning. We are joined by Alexander Reddy, who is the head of programs at the Institute for Social Accountability, TISA. And he is here with us this morning. Alexander, good morning.
Good morning to you, Ndu.
How are you doing?
I'm well.
Karibu sana.
It's great to be in the situation room.
It's good to have you. Karibu.
Thank you.
Thank you for, coming today because we want to open up a couple of things and, move the caboose on that conversation. Stella Agara is a governance and security analyst. She'll join us in a short while and we will have this conversation, whether we like it or not. We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
And we're forming what should be public discourse over time as concerns the runnings of the country. But before we get there, Dennis is going to welcome you with today's proverb. We would love to get your interpretation of it.
So today we're in Morocco. And the latest history added to them is they are the champions for 2024. And that happened in Kenya, by the way. But Kenyans are saying because we beat the champions, we're the champions. But again, if you look at Morocco, you look at their cuisine, tasty, their meats are really wonderful. Couscous is part of the palate that they have there. They also export a lot of phosphate, which here in the country we use for fertilizer in the country, as well as you look at their beautiful beaches. It's just 13 kilometers as well to Europe. So they say they have a lot of European influence because they're closer to Spain. But let's go to the proverb today. The heart that loves you won't hurt you. The heart that loves you won't hurt you. How would you interpret that?
The heart that loves you won't hurt you. It means the person who loves you would have no intention of hurting you. Basically, the person who has a responsibility to take care of you would not be seen to be doing something that would harm you. And that is how I would interpret it.
Yes.
Looking at probably what we are about to discuss, the person who we have given the custody of taking care of us through our vote would assume they would have no interest in hurting us or spending what we have given to them in a manner that does not fit with what we would want.
One would say from the frying pan straight into the fire.
I like the fact that you use the word intention.
Yes.
That you don't. If you love somebody, you don't operate with an intention to hurt. You could hurt, but you didn't intend to. Well, I think that's interesting that you used that word. Okay, so in this week, we've seen quite a lot in terms of what monies are being used. The one that met with chagrin for a lot of people yesterday was the hospitality budget that comes out of this country on a daily basis. Now, when I hear 17 million shillings, you say, wow, that's a lot of money. I mean, especially then when you attach it to food items. And we're not talking about food items. Now, when I say 17.2 million shillings a day, then I want somebody to say, knock me over, because that's a lot of money. Now, maybe that's okay, because people say in order to, you need to entertain, you need to be hospitable, you need to do certain things. But is that okay in the light of the things that are happening in the country? Where, we could do the list, and I'm sure we already know what the list looks like. Can't pay capitation. Ministry of Health has told us, I beg your pardon, Ministry of Education has told us why capitation has not been sent is because they are trying to verify all these ghost schools that came out of the woodwork. So once that's verified or unverified, then we can pay. So maybe that's an explanation. But, not enough people paying for SHA, so government doesn't have enough money to pay. Not enough money, so resources cannot fix all the infrastructure in the country. But then you can spend 17 million shillings a day on hospitality. And if we just do quick math, 17... let's go with a 30-day month. That's 510 million shillings a month on food.
That's interesting. When you look at the state of our economy and the state of our expenditure, we are in a serious deficit when it comes to our budget. And services to ordinary citizens, whether it's education, whether it's health, are not at their best. So ordinarily you would expect that some of these monies, we are spending it in a manner that is going to enhance the livelihoods of Kenyans. When you look at the amount you've just mentioned, 17 million Kenya shillings being spent on hospitality, and compare with what that money could do in terms of capitation for our students. A full capitation for our students would be about 22,000 shillings per year. So if you take 17 million shillings, just a quick math, and divide by 22,000, that would tell you the number of children that will go without capitation just because we chose to spend this money on hospitality. If we decided to pay, say, full SHA contribution to the vulnerable, which would be around 6,000 per person, that would give you the number of people that would be catered for at the SHA. If we decided, let's save half of that and connect as many households to electricity at a total of 15,000 per household, that tells you the number that would benefit at the expense of what we are doing within that hospitality.
At 6,000 you said?
6,000 is for full payment of SHA for the year.
So for 17 million shillings, this is a day.
Yes.
So in one day of hospitality, payments here and there, you serve tea, you have lunch, whatever, you could actually pay a full year for Kenyans to the tune of 2,833 people.
That's a day.
In a day. You could pay for 2,833 people in one day.
So times 30.
Yikes.
Times 12. That would give you the number of citizens that you could pay for.
It's necessary for us to do that if you don't mind.
It is.
What did I say? 2,833 people?
Yes. So you've divided 17 million by 6,000.
By 6,000. Yeah.
Yes.
2,833 people.
Yes.
Right?
So
833 times
30. An ordinary month. Then times 12. That is a year.
Times 12. So we would actually be able to foot the bill for 1,019,880 Kenyans.
Precisely.
In 1 month of...
That's 1 year.
In 1 year
yes.
of this hospitality feeding people.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
1 million Kenyans could get...
That is just one example of what you would do.
Okay.
You could also decide that because we have these state banquets and other things that are necessary, let's then go with what has been proposed before by the president. Let us cut some of these expenditures by 50%. So if we were to do that, then we would still save enough to pay for over 500,000
people,
okay. Which is still a pretty good number of
yes.
people that would be helped with something that is more sustainable. And it would ensure that they get health services, assuming then SHA would be working, because there is also an assumption that SHA would be working. But looking at another example that would be more useful, look at capitation, for instance, for students, because this goes to a student. Maybe we can divide the same. We can do the same math.
So 17.2 million shillings. This is in a day.
Yes.
Let's say in a day we divide by 22,244 shillings. We would then be able to send for a year. We would be able to send one student for a year from term 1 to 3, January until October. 773 students would go to school. We would not worry about that.
Yes.
We would not even have to retain the 5,000 shillings that's held by the Ministry of Education for infrastructure and blah, blah, blah.
That is in a day.
Now,
that's in a day.
That's a day.
All right. Now, if we did this times 30. Okay.
Times 12.
Then we multiply by 12. We would then be able to send a quarter of the... Let me not even do that. We would then be able to send 278,367 students to school.
Exactly.
We would pay capitation.
Now, let us again assume we still need the hospitality. We have entertaining guests, so we cut that by 50%.
Yes.
I'm using a number that has been proposed by the president himself. Then we are talking about over 100,000 students would go to school without paying a thing. So this is the cost of the priorities that we have taken. And now, to make matters worse, this comes at the backdrop of a situation where we are borrowing heavily, domestically and externally, but more heavily domestically, which is actually crowding out the domestic investors because they cannot access credit. So when you compare these two, we are spending money on consumption, and we've not even touched the bigger animals around here, because if you look at domestic travel and foreign travel, that would be another big area. If you look at something called other operating expenses, that's another bigger area. We're just focusing on hospitality. But that is why we've been saying as Okoh Uchumi, Kenya does not have a revenue problem. What we have is an expenditure problem. And I think I had the other day, some of our political class have started admitting that we have an expenditure problem, not a revenue one.
Okay. Stella Agara is here. She's a governance and security expert. She joins us, analyst, and she joins us this morning. Good morning, Stella.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
You made it.
I made it.
Yes.
I did.
Karibu sana.
Thank you.
We are looking into how things are working in the country at the moment. We've done some math. It's been some fun stuff already. And Alexander just walking us through and said, okay, fine, even if we kept things in terms of expenditure at 50%. And this, by the way, we've not gone into other areas around, what's happening with ghosts. Because there seem to be ghosts, whether you're looking into the medical sector or whether you're looking into the education sector, there are ghosts. The president has, pronounced himself on some of these things just this last week. We're just looking at the expenditure for hospitality. We're not even looking at the expenditure for domestic travel. We're not looking at the expenditure for foreign travel. We're not looking at expenditure on allowances and other personal emoluments. We're not looking at any of that. This is just this one that hit us in the face like a ton of bricks yesterday. And we're saying that it is possible to even cut these things by 50%, and we would see a significant number of the things that are crying out in society today then having been catered for. Children could go to school. Medical bills for people in a universal healthcare coverage arena could be paid. We will probably see some infrastructure development. Are we allowed to make such comparisons? Can we say, well, you know what, if you cut a little bit over here, we can do this. Should we be allowed to make such a kind of an analysis?
As a matter of fact, we should. For a country that does not have the resources it requires to serve its people, we must prioritize, and the decisions must be made in a manner that then prioritizes those needs that cover the most of the population. So for a country that is struggling economically, we shouldn't be prioritizing entertainment especially for meetings that do not result in funds for the nation. We should be prioritizing entertainment and luxury when we are already getting our basic needs. Are all the children in the country getting basic education? Are all the young people in the country getting secondary education, for example? And then can we say that we are subsidizing tertiary education? Can we talk about the fact that everybody in this country is receiving universal health care? And if not, is it subsidized for the very needy people in our society? Until we have those conversations, it is not okay for us to talk about the high spending that this country has consistently had on flowers, on samosas, on funny items that don't necessarily have to be spent on. And now the figures are appalling. I'm not sure we want to be having conversations about that when you have people in this country sleeping hungry, when you have people in this country saying they can't afford healthcare, when you have people in this country saying that they can't even access the marketplace. They are producing, but they cannot access the marketplace. We have a fundamental problem, because those who then begin to access the marketplace and they're producing maybe are going to improve the revenue in this country. If we are not sustaining that, then we are not bringing money into the pockets of the people. We are not promoting spending, and therefore we are not going to be able to have resources for services. A government is as good as the services they offer to their people. If they're not able to offer their services, then maybe they're saying that they're not competent enough to be holding those positions.
You know, Stella, I remember a while back, especially during the time when President William Ruto was invited to the White House, a red carpet, 200 million shillings jet, and everything that went about that. And I remember at the time the Cabinet Secretary Foreign Affairs by then was Alfred Mutua, and he said, we need to spend this money for us to be able to generate more, for us to strike all these deals and whatnot. Money has to be spent. But like you've rightfully said, we see the expenditure, but we see no result. But this has continued to happen over time, because the president will also wake up and say, kutoka leo mambo ya harambee tumekata. We have to live within our means. We have to tighten our belts. But you see the renovation of State House. One asks, is that necessary? The construction of the church that now there's a court order stopping that. Is it necessary when healthcare is not working, education is not working, cost of doing business is high, education funding model is a problem? But is it that they do not know? Is it that we do not know? Or it's just a question of we don't care?
If you ask me, I'm convinced that they don't care. I'm highly convinced that they don't care. Look here, most of these trips, forget about just the US one, all of the trips have oversubscriptions of people going for the trips. I have looked at lists of people going for, climate conferences, is it some meeting in China or wherever it is. Even if the negotiations and funding is coming, you do not need the size of delegations that we normally send. How many mouths are going to be negotiating on behalf of the country for whatever deal it is that they're going to collect? In the US, for example, we saw all kinds of displays of pictures taken in Hollywood and elsewhere. I'm yet to see what that has translated to for Riverwood. Do we still have Riverwood in Kenya even in the first place? We saw images taken there, and certain decisions were made at the time. In fact, there have been reversals, for example, of our non-NATO representation. So for me, I think they have made a decision that they're going to eat from whatever opportunity that is available to them. If it is travel, let us collect per diems as much as possible. If it is locally, whatever we have to do to ensure that the money is in our hands. Are you going to reduce capitation or cancel it completely so that you have money to do empowerment? They have made a decision that's what they are going to do. We know that empowerment program is not working. It does not even take a rocket scientist to understand that it's not working. They have definitely decided that they want the money to be in their pockets, and they don't care what Kenyans are going through. The last thing I'm going to say on this is the fact that as a country, and I agree with my colleague that we collect sufficient revenue. And the truth is, there is enough to eat and still deliver to the people. I mean, assuming that we said we have accepted our thugs in government, let's just allow them to eat. There is enough to eat and still deliver services to the people. The problem is that we have individuals in our government who lack conscience. They have made decisions that they're going to eat the road, eat the pavement, and even eat the person who was supposed to use the road. It is extremely, extremely disappointing that we have human beings today who do not care about fellow human beings running our government, and therefore they don't care what damage is caused. The cost of corruption, the cost of wastefulness is tragic to some people in this nation, because people die without accessing health services. It is tragic to the future of this nation, because we are supposed to be educating young people so that they can be leaders of tomorrow, they can be the businessmen of tomorrow, they can be the ones running our industries. If the quality of education is compromised, if they are constantly out of school because they cannot afford school fees, a time is coming when you're going to pay the price, and there's no escaping. We will pay a dear price, and we must start making a decision on how we will hold this government accountable for the little time that they have left over in government, as we wait for a time when we'll have a more responsive government.
Can we link directly, Alexander, to say that, I mean, we've done the math, and, many could say that we're being, rudimentary or basic in our thinking. But if we look at a situation whereby 100 million shillings that can be used on something that is not bringing any kind of benefits, then it cannot be explained that you see there is a dent somewhere else. To me, you can actually draw the line and connect and say, look, this is not bringing anything. And on this side, we see that 1,000 children could be sent to school. The reality on the ground today is that there are schools, and this is not a fairy tale, that there are schools that are sending children back home because they are yet to receive capitation. Julius Ogamba, who is the CS for Education, said very clearly yesterday that what they're trying to do is exorcise the ghosts, I don't know, to make sure that the lists that they have received, that there are no ghost schools. And as they do that, it's not that the money is not there. As they do that, they will then send these children, they will now send the money for capitation. Whereas that might be true, there was money that was owed in January, term 1, that was unpaid to the tune of 2,300 shillings per child. There was money in term 2 that is unpaid, again, to the tune of 3,800 shillings per child. Capitation for third term of 4,449 shillings. Ask me how I know these numbers off it. Has not been paid at all for term 3. We are going into the third week of term 3 on Monday. So if that can be used as reasoning, these ghost schools did not start in the Ruto administration. This non-payment of capitation did not start in the William Ruto administration. There's 64 billion shillings that was already due in capitation before Ruto lifted the Bible. So it is a perennial issue. Can we say that we're not sending money because of this? And this overspending on things did not start with this administration, unfortunately. But we are seeing that there is an exacerbation of the situation. Can we not say, hang on, hard stop, pull the red, what is that thing that in the train where they pull it and everything comes to a stop? Can we pull that thing and say stop? But can we do that if we don't care about what 50 million Kenyans have to go through on a daily basis?
You started a very good point. The person we expect to pull that red thing you're talking about sits in the house on the hill. But now looking at the report by the Control of Budget, you'll find that out of the 17 million we are talking about 3 point something million is spent. Almost 3.2 million is spent in State House every day on hospitality. So this is the person we expect that is supposed to pull the plug on our behalf. That is where the challenges start. And when I look at it now from the global perspective in terms of our fiscal situation, you find that in that same year, it's a year where we had to borrow heavily to finance our expenditure. The report is a big report, but part of it gives you the analysis of how much we borrowed. Especially we borrowed in excess of 1 trillion shillings domestically. This has added into our debt stock that is currently now oscillating at around 11.8 trillion. So when you look at now, and I come back to my colleague, you look at now where we are borrowing to actually consume.
To live.
We are borrowing for recurrent. And this is against our own provisions in the PFM Act and our Constitution. To make matters worse, there is this now very famous article, and I have seen the heading of the bold newspaper today, and I came with my Constitution. Article 223 is the drafters of the Constitution envisaged a situation where you would have challenges, where maybe Parliament is not there, an emergency has occurred, and you need money that is not appropriated. And it provided for the withdrawal awaiting appropriation. But now, when I looked at the budget, even you compare this year's budget and last year's budget, you will see that some of these areas were actually financed through Article 223 approvals, and that is provided in the Control of Budgets report. Now, you ask yourself, is this hospitality business, is it an emergency? Was it unforeseen? And was it unavoidable? Because those are the conditions that are provided for those withdrawals. It has to be an emergency, unforeseen, and unavoidable. So when we look at now this report in totality, and then compare what we are losing by the sort of expenditures we are having in terms of what our children are losing, our vulnerable people in the society, then we are left wondering whether the proverb we started with from Morocco, whether the person who loves me actually is not hurting me. And we come back to the intention we talked about.
Yeah. So I wanted to look at the government, the way it operates, right? So you realize the 64 billion shillings on education funds from the previous government, but the institutions remained the same. So we talk about EACC in terms of doing investigations, talk about DCI, talk about the ODPP, talk about the ministry itself. Individuals might change, but the government of Kenya remains. All these ministries remain. And one would ask the question, if the education ministry failed to release the capitation, or the treasury failed to release the capitation, and the problems that we now envisage today, who slept on the job? And if one would come and say, hizi shida zikuanza na mimi, ilikuwa ile serikali nyingine, ulizeni wao. Why are we not seeing heads roll in terms of finding those who are culpable of the misdeeds that were done to the people of Kenya and ensure that justice is done? Or is it a question of government, politicians protecting themselves because they know we'll still do the same thing?
Dennis, this is why I say with a lot of conviction that they actually don't care. Because they know exactly who is responsible for making things happen and they don't do it. Number two, when the next government, and I don't know why we are obsessed with our egos, that when a new government comes in, they don't want to take responsibility for what was not done. What we don't, for example, acknowledge when we are transitioning governments in Kenya is that whatever is left over from the previous regime is your assignment.
Is your responsibility.
That if you decide you're not going to finish the road that was being constructed by the previous government, then that road is going to be hanging as a failure on your part. That is one of the things that you don't recognize. If the previous government left a debt of capitation to schools, you have the obligation of making sure that you pay, because if you don't pay, it basically means those institutions will close their gates at some point. I think we have egos that are probably too inflated. People don't actually care whether or not they're going to serve the people and whether they're going to make sure that they do what they need to do. The other thing is that some of the institutions that are required to be playing the role of fighting corruption in this country have really been compromised. They have really been compromised. Majority are either underfunded. They run their functions with direct influence from other quarters, including the executive. And so even when they have the means, they have the evidence, and they're able to deal with these situations, they don't get to deal with them. Now, I don't know if you'd report a whole government refusing to pay institutions what they should pay them, or even to transfer to the county what is supposed to be transferred to the county. I don't know if you'd call that corruption. In it, there's corruption. But then government, it's always assumed that government will pay. That's the thing.
Yes.
So whatever is a government debt will eventually be paid when someone who has some level of sanity takes over that position, or when the resources become available. So the government also takes advantage of the fact that everybody knows that they are bankable. So you keep this for very long, punish the institutions, punish the students, punish the people who are supposed to be benefiting from these resources on the ground, knowing very well that most people will not be able to come back to you and ask you, where is this money? I think the other thing is that because of the nuances, the state has come to a place where they think that citizens do not understand what those monies mean. For a long time, because they're talking in millions and billions, they think Kenyans will take forever to understand. Yes. But the truth is, Kenyans don't need to understand the zeros. Kenyans just need to feel how painful the belt is getting as it's being tightened every day.
Yeah. And Stella, can I interject and ask you, that, do you think that there is an understanding, linear or otherwise, that because look, the headlines are all over the place. This information is public, but that in fact by law it must be made public, and then it starts to spread by wildfire. I'm telling you, everybody by the end of yesterday knew that wanakula mandazi ya 17 million Okoh. That is the narrative. But do people make a connection between the real situation that I talked about, where children are being turned back home? Do people make a connection between these monies that are being spent, and it looks like a lot of money, which it is, and that child who is being turned back home, or that woman who dies in hospital because there is no doctor to treat her because the doctors are on strike because they've not been paid? Are we making the connections between those things?
The people who desperately need these services make the connection. As a matter of fact, every time they hear you talking about 19 million being deposited to a ghost hospital, they actually make a connection. Anybody who was a patient in hospital today in Kenya makes, the moment you mention 19 million and someone has 1.6 million to pay in a hospital, they make a connection. The people who don't make a connection are the consumers, the corrupt people who are feeding from the messed up system that we have, that continues to take away what is supposed to go into public service. They never make a connection. As a matter of fact, they get to the end of their day and fall asleep without trouble. And for me, that is where our problems start. It starts from the lack of conscience in these people, and then it moves on to the fact that entire government systems conspire to protect that lack of conscience and get to a place where an entire government is running without conscience, serving people that they don't deliver services to, and they consistently open their mouths to make promises, saying that we are going to strike, we are going to do whatever. You say you're going to strike today, tomorrow we see you working again and collaborating with people who continue to eat from the public coffers and prevent citizens from getting what they should get. It is really a huge integrity problem, and the institutions that are supposed to be dealing with the corruption themselves are not even available to deal with the corruption because they've been compromised. Where they have strength to deal with the corruption, sometimes they are underfunded. And we have watched this happening for so long that it's becoming the norm. I think we need to become uncomfortable with this and make it unbearable for governments to continue functioning the way they do.
And you see, at the heart of that is the constitutionality of the country. And why do I bring up this question? Because remember, there is this matter of CDF that has been there. And why do I bring especially the matter of CDF? Because it has also been raised by Edwin. Because you look at, we have CDF, right? We have all these other funds, the President's Fund. We have all these bursaries that are being given by everyone. And the court has pronounced itself on matters to do with CDF. It is unconstitutional, but everyone is fighting to maintain this and ensure that it's still part of their political wildcard whenever they go back to seek for election. But Kenyans are saying, take it away from these people so that, one, they would legislate, they would oversight, and they would represent. They have no business implementing what is ordinarily a county's job or an executive function. And as you look at it in hindsight, is as if tokenism is the way of life. We need these funds so that in a county, I can give 3,000 shillings as bursary as my ticket for re-election. At the end of the day, I will not bother asking questions why EACC is not performing, why the president spent 200 million on a jet, why ABCD happened. Is that the case? That everyone will do everything? Kuficha kitita.
You bring a very interesting topic. Just to take you back a bit, TISA is the one that actually has been pushing the CDF case. We are the one who got those orders, and we expect CDF to shut down by June 30th next year. Now, the question that the High Court and the Supreme Court and the people of Kenya wanted to know is this constitution here gives only 3 responsibilities to members of parliament, as you have highlighted. And their responsibility is representation, legislation, and oversight. How do you oversight when you're also involved in implementation in whatever manner? Whether you are a patron or whether you are whatever it is, you are supposed to be off implementation completely for you to do oversight. And now the problem that we see is given that this, if you may not be aware, CDF is appropriated under the State Department for Economic Planning. So it is at the State Department. Then it goes to a board. So technically, the budget that comes to Parliament that has CDF is proposed by the executive. And all the processes of releasing the money is an executive function. Meaning, if the executive feels that the members of Parliament, for whatever reason, are not playing ball, they can withdrawal, the inyonga the mfereji, as Kenyans put it. So this makes it difficult for these members of parliament to hold the executive to account, because they know these people can come back and hold them when it comes to CDF. So that is why we ought to adhere with the constitution that we gave to ourselves. And we all keep on mentioning Article 1. And the Article 1 gives all sovereign power to ourselves, the citizens. And therefore, if we are of the view that this is the law that has been given to the executive, this is the law that has been given to the legislature, and this is the law that has been given to the judiciary, they should be held to account to that, so that we ensure that our members of parliament also don't find themselves vulnerable to the trappings of the executive. And that is the problem we are having currently. And coming back to the question that Du had asked, I don't think those who are in authority actually connect the spending that is happening in the manners that we are seeing and the suffering of the people. Because if they did, we wouldn't be seeing them moving around doing this empowerment thing while students have less capitation. We wouldn't be seeing the sort of expenditures we are seeing in hospitality, for instance, if we have what we call indigents, or people who cannot afford, not managing to pay for SHA. They would be worried when we hear that there's some money that was paid from SHA to a hospital that does not exist. While hospitals that exist and actually treated people have not been paid.
You would feel some kind of shame. Would you not, Stella?
Absolutely shame. But then also, apart from shame, you'd feel some kind of guilt and responsibility. They don't feel it. But I want to weigh in on this conversation on tokenism and constitutionalism. We had a country that survived on people getting services if they support the government of the day. Our constitution was particularly created to address that specific problem. And that is why in our new constitution, power was again reestablished in the people, and then the resources were sent back to the people. When you see the kind of consolidation happening, that we would rather not send capitation to the schools, but give CDF what they need to be given to give bursaries. And then bursaries will be given based on who supports the sitting MP. You know, when you see resources being contained at the center and empowerment being done, and the people who are being called to meetings are the people who are on a speed dial of a mobilizer of a political party, we are actually going back and clawing back on the gains that have already been made by this constitution. It is unacceptable to bring a country that has a constitution that makes provision, the spirit of which is to distribute resources that belong to the people back to the people so that they can receive services, and put those resources in the hands of a few so that these people can dictate when, how, and how loud, how they will distribute those resources, and how loud the women and youth, who are always the audience of these resources, will sing to just get the money out of their pockets. It is indignity of the highest order. It is disrespectful to the citizens of this nation who pay taxes every day. But most importantly, it's even illegal for us to live in a country where we are doing these kinds of things, because this is a country that actually has signed and is party to the Universal Declaration on Human Rights. We cannot have our citizens begging for services when a nation is collecting taxes.
And then would ask, then what do we we do? Because, there's the accusation of lamentation over and over again, but then there's also the call for solutions. And we know that there are those who are clamoring, whether it's private citizen petitions or whether it is barazas of people who come together to have conversations around these things. Because, again, another thing that a conversation does is that it removes the cover of hiding. You remove the cover. That let's have these conversations in the open so that everybody is aware of these things that are happening, and you cannot hide them, because that's usually where these things thrive, in the hidden. So there are people who have taken petitions to court, this one of NGCDF being one of them. There have been private citizens who have taken up these matters, whether it's around human rights, whether it's around this education thing, whether it's around what you can or cannot do once you're a public or state official. These things happen, but are we clawing back? Are we actually moving? If we are dealing with arms of government, look across board, whether you're looking at the executive, whether you're looking at the legislature, whether you're looking at the judiciary, it doesn't matter where you look, that there are those who are protecting these dens of this impunity that we talk about. So whether you go to court, whether you go to parliament, whether you talk to who, it's like we are just oscillating in the same spot. And it's a little bit discouraging. So, but then we're also told that there is hope. What do you do? What is the solution? And people often, we've been told in the last couple of days, go out and register. There is a 14 million strong vote that could come from people who want to change the things of governance in this country at the next election. And that's who's being wooed and romanticized at the moment, right? Is that enough to vote on election day? Is that enough?
Voting is extremely important. And I would encourage especially our young people to register. Once that opportunity has been announced, they should register. And not only register, but vote. But beyond voting, who are you voting for? Are you voting out of euphoria, or are you voting for somebody who will come and make real change? That is important. But you also ask a very important question. We've seen since 2023 and 2024 an awakening of the citizen, and even this year, where citizens themselves are saying, we can see what is happening, and my colleague did allude to that. Now, it is no longer a secret that Kenyans know what these numbers are and what they mean. And they are doing their own analysis of what these numbers mean. But beyond that, we need to go beyond that and ensure that whenever the opportunities to contribute to the discourse of coming up with our budget, we also participate. On the 25th of last month, there was the launch of the budget process for the coming fiscal year. We should participate actively, because Article 10, Article 201, as read together with Section 35 of the PFM Act, provides room for our citizens to participate in the budget-making process. That is where we start making contributions and making changes to these sort of proposals that we are seeing going through to Parliament. And beyond that, we need also to petition our members of Parliament and tell them we've seen this proposal coming to increase, domestic travel from X to Y. We are not in agreement. Why don't you appropriate X amount to hospitals, for instance, or to education? So that is the sort of a thing that we need to do as citizens, because this cannot be left to the civil society organization and to the media only. And if you've seen what has been happening, the civic space is now shrinking. Because now anybody who speaks in the manner that we are speaking here with my colleague, you are not even sure whether you will get to your next destination. Persona non grata. Yes. So those are the challenges that we are having, which is not good.
You raised something very critical, that these ought to be citizen-led. When you sit and talk about countries like Switzerland and how everything is citizen involved, a bill, anything that is being decided is almost like a referendum. But here the other day we were joking in the studio how Kenya went to Japan to ask for 22 billion shillings, But let's look at what this 22 billion shillings and how it can be gotten in this country. The previous president told us 2 billion shillings is lost a day. That means 22 billion shillings is
10 days.
10 days. You know what I mean?
11 days.
11. Oh, let's say
11 and a half.
So do we really need to go to Japan? No, we just need to seal the loopholes. But let's look at even the 17 million shillings a day on hospitality. That means it is within the 5 years. Yeah, if we are to use that money, it is 30 billion shillings. Do we really need to go get 22 billion shillings and pay it over 7-8 years? No, we have that money here. So how then critical is it for the citizenry to stand and say, we bequeathed ourselves this constitution, and in this constitution, this is what we said. We must be involved, including in the debt and the bilateral agreements that the government is getting into.
Let me tell you, I'm actually glad you brought up those examples, and that just goes to prove that we collect sufficient revenue, number one. Number two, how critical is it? It is extremely critical because nobody else will get up to defend this nation. Those people who we borrow from are happy to continue giving us loans because for them it's about the profit. They really don't care about whether it's approved by the citizens as it should. And as a matter of fact, they claim that they bank on the country to do what it needs to do before they accept those resources. We have seen that our National Assembly is complicit. When they want to do favors, when they are promised certain favors, then they comply. It is the responsibility of the citizens to put pressure, and I mean extreme pressure, on every duty bearer who's responsible for the situation we find ourselves in today. Not just put pressure when they're in office, but also put pressure at the time of voting. I'm happy my colleague has mentioned that they should register and come out to vote, and mention that who they're going to vote for. But even as you're voting for who, check. The exasperation comes from the fact that one, these people ignore court summons sometimes, ignore court rulings sometimes. They decide to go for empowerment and ask Mutadu, even as we tell them we don't want it. The opportunity presents itself at the time of voting to send home anybody who has said Mutadu. Right now, the music we are playing is almost like we are ready to recycle some of those people who have ignored court rulings. We are ready to ignore some of those people who have actually broken the law as they were serving the nation of Kenya. One of the things we must do during the campaign period is to remind them consistently that you did this and we shall not allow it. Thank God, Gen Z are the kind of people who will not let you go to sleep without remembering that you did 1, 2, 3 things. We cannot afford as a nation to suffer from amnesia. Number 3, this constitution is the only thing that we have. I have said in this studio severally, and I'm going to repeat it today. As long as we have responsible governments in power, let us not allow them to change this constitution. Let us not allow them to even create more offices so that they can increase the wage bill. Let us ensure that we refuse every process to try and amend this constitution until we have a responsible government in power. The last thing that we must do is constantly keep ourselves informed. And once we are informed, take advantage of the opportunities available to demand accountability. Now, there's normally question time, both in the county assembly and the National Assembly, where you can query some of the expenditure. You can petition a member of parliament to ask questions or demand accountability, either from the executive or from any other quarters about the spending of resources. Citizens in Kenya don't take advantage of that as much. I'm glad you mentioned Switzerland. I've seen England, I've seen Denmark, Germany, where citizens will actually write a question, put it in the MP's pigeonhole, and that question will be asked on the floor of the House. Can we, as Kenyans, start taking advantage of those? I know the representatives in Kenya, MPs, CECs, are taking advantage of that, but they're doing it as an instrument of shake-up. So if I notice that you're building on a road reserve, I then go and ask a question in the House, so that you start panicking about the question that I've asked. And then, of course, it is used to collect a bribe. Of course, it is for me. It's for me. It's for me. We must now get the citizens to begin using those, because a citizen will not collect a bribe until this road is removed. If the Kilimani residents were given an opportunity to ask questions about the high rises, they would never have settled until that matter would have been addressed. But because it was being asked by an individual who feeds his stomach, then of course the high rises have continued, and now Kilimani is in a situation we cannot handle. Indeed. So let these actions be taken by citizens, and let citizens also be aware that they actually have power to do this, and they don't need to get permission from anybody to write to their MP, to write to their MCA and demand that these things happen. If you go alone, especially for the level of the MCAs, there are times when you could be targeted. So there's power in numbers. Citizens need to organize they need to organize and make sure that when they're asking these questions, they're asking as a group and that the pressure is felt. What the language the government understands, the language that politicians understand is numbers. So the moment they feel the pressure on the ground, they will act.
And there you go. And that's why we can't have these conversations hidden. They must be out in the open, and that's why we talk about them today. Citizen-led governance is one thing that we need to practice more. Alexander Redhi is the head of programs at the Institute for Social Accountability, TISA, and governance and security analyst Stella Agara have been our guests this morning. Thank you for being here to push these conversations. We can't stay silent. It's 9:01. Good morning.
Good morning, this is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira. Details on the existence of ghost schools siphoning millions of shillings from taxpayers are expected to be released today as the Ministry of Education concludes a countrywide verification exercise. Education CS Julius Ogamba revealed that the audit, triggered by an earlier report from the Auditor General, will seek to establish the number of schools and learners before the release of capitation funding. Ogamba told the Standard that the verification exercise is the reason behind the delayed disbursement of capitation to schools. He said the ministry was validating student numbers submitted by head teachers and cross-checking them with records from sub-county directors of education. President William Ruto has sent his condolences following the passing of Isaac Ngugi, the father of National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah. Writing on X, Ruto said Mzee Ngugi was an industrious and astute businessman and one of the brains that founded Kikuyu Town. He went on to say that Mzee Ngugi's legacy will live on, noting that he touched many lives through his transformative initiatives that supported the vulnerable. Interior CS Kipchumba Murkomen has also sent his condolences, saying his prayers are with Ichung'wah's family during these difficult times. Mzee Ngugi passed away peacefully in his sleep at his home in Kikuyu on Thursday, according to a statement from the office of the Speaker of the National Assembly. He was 105. Deputy President Kithure Kindiki has postponed tomorrow's economic empowerment drive in Trans Nzoia County. Kwanza MP Ferdinand Wanyonyi says the event has been pushed to Saturday next week. Wanyonyi has warned politicians against politicizing the issue, saying Kindiki and National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula, who were to preside over the event, have travelled out of the country.
The Deputy President na Speaker of the National Assembly wameenda Algeria to attend the 4th Inter-Afro Trade Fair. Watarudi next week on Monday. The President is supposed to have gone, lakini these are the ones who've been assigned kwenda kwa niaba ya His Excellency the President. Wale ambao wanaongea tu mambo mengine, we have not put it off. We are postponing this function mpaka tarehe 13, which will be the next Saturday. In fact, itatupatia more time for us to prepare even better.
Wanyonyi has dismissed claims that the money being dished out during the economic empowerment events is from government coffers.
The important thing about this women empowerment ni ya kwamba tunatoa hiyo pesa kidogo tuko nayo. It doesn't come from the treasury. It's actually personal donation to women groups. Ili wakina mama kama amepewa shilingi 10,000, depending on the harvest on that day, tutapeana hiyo pesa na hiyo pesa inaenda kwa biashara. Na wale ambao watafaidika ni wale ambao wamejiandikisha, wako na certificate, inasaidia members wa hiyo particular group. Tena yote inarudi kwetu because every transaction in this country is taxed. So we benefit both ways.
In Machakos County, several residents of Syokimau in Athi River spent the night in the cold after fierce fire destroyed their houses. The fire broke out at Katani Villas, a gated residential estate, at around 7:30 p.m. before it quickly spread through several houses. By the time firefighters from Machakos and Nairobi counties had managed to contain the fire, several houses had been reduced to shells. The cause of the fire is yet to be established. At least 15 people have died in a new outbreak of the Ebola virus in the Democratic Republic of Congo, the country's health ministry has said. The presence of the virus had been confirmed in a 34-year-old pregnant woman who was admitted to hospital last month after showing symptoms that included a high fever and repeated vomiting. She died a few hours later from multiple organ failure. This will be the 16th outbreak of the deadly virus in the vast Central African state that has poor health services and is hit by conflict in the east. Officials have urged strict adherence to preventive measures, including frequent hand washing and social distancing in high-risk areas. That's the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can't run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we might find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice.
When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations, how you're going to decide cases. It's a no.
When you weaken the institution to the point where they cannot take action, then you realize that politicians have to come up and now start dealing with the issues.
That conversation has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
On Friday, and we are looking into conversations continuing. We are talking this hour into quite a number of things, but we'll look into those in just a short while. At 9:09, I want to ask you where you're going to be on the 8th of September. You should be in Mombasa, and if you are in Mombasa, you will then go to the Blue City Hotel. Okay? On the 10th of September, folks who are in Eldoret, I want you to make your way then to the Boma Inn. And then on the 13th of Nairobi, folks in Nairobi will make their way to the Movenpick Hotel. Why? Because the Cradle Study Abroad Fair taking place in these three cities on those dates. And it's this September then where you will get an opportunity to find out all the information that you need to know about university education and the different destinations where you can make it happen. 575 different universities in 50 plus destinations around the world is what Cradle, which is Africa's largest study abroad platform, is putting together for folks. It's going to match you with your career aspirations, things that you want to do in the future that you need an education to get to. So universities will come in person from across the world to these fairs in Eldoret, Mombasa and Nairobi. You'll be able to get information because they will unpack what makes their study destinations the right fit for you. And there would be an elevator packet from different universities to help you understand the benefits of different universities and what they have to offer for you. It's a one you do not want to miss. That question that you had, so what's going to happen come January? Go. answer it now on the 8th, 10th, and 13th of September in Mombasa, Eldoret, and Nairobi. Register today on the website www.craydel.com. That's CRAYDEL.com. Call today 0799 000 444. Get all the information that you need and thank me later. Sindio, even do wanasemanga?
Yes.
All right.
Now, we have created our wealth today.
Yes, we have.
We have secured it through proper advice. Now, question is, how do we ensure that your legacy, that this wealth you've created is able to go to the next generation? And here we talk about the legacy. And when we talk about the legacy, this is all about the values that you pass on. So you are big about security. You're big about continuity of this. Standard Chartered Priority Banking is telling you that you will get estate planning, proper estate planning to protect what matters and ensure a smooth transfer to the next generation. Now, in a world where constant change happens, the team will help you stay prepared and not reactive. This is about intentional, lasting wealth built on trust, strategy, and values. Now, begin your journey today by doing what again? Emailing wealth.ke@sc.com, because Standard Chartered Priority Banking, your time is now.
Your time indeed is now. At 12 minutes past 9 o'clock, we have been hearing over the last couple of weeks that terror is alive in the city again, whereby there was some time where it had reduced significantly. And the terror that I'm talking about is not one you may be thinking about, but we're talking about gangs and what they're doing in the city in terms of robbing folks. And it is not fun to even think about it. And we're not talking about just at night, we're talking about during the day in terms of what has been happening. So we're going to open this up a little bit today. Peter Bogwa is the leader of the Police Is My Brother initiative, and he joins us in the studio this morning. Peter, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
To the Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. You are in the hot seat. This is a top hot matter. We're going to get into it just a little bit. Dennis is going to welcome you, first of all, with today's proverb. He'll tell you where it's from. We would love your interpretation of it.
Yeah, so the proverb today comes from Morocco. And when you talk about Morocco, you think about tourism in the country. You talk about their culture. You talk about their garments, carpets that come from Morocco. Moroccan carpets are some of the best in the world. So you talk about the economy as well. They export phosphate that we use in the country for fertilizer, you know. But let's go to the proverb. The heart that loves you won't hurt you. The heart that loves you won't hurt you. How would you interpret that?
The heart
that loves you won't hurt you.
On my side have a lot of meaning. If I can say on my side, sometimes somebody who loves you can hurt you.
Okay.
According to situation, let me say like that. Every young person, especially a boy, hurt her mother because the mother is the one who feel the pain when you are in the street in a life of a crime as a criminal. But your mom, he always protect you, saying that you're not a criminal.
Even when you are.
Yeah. Wow.
It's unbelievable, but it's incredible, but that's an interesting interpretation, because, you know, she still loves you. And I guess that's a great way for us to start this conversation this morning, Peter. And feel free to be comfortable in whatever way you want to discuss with us. Kiswahili, English, it doesn't matter, okay? Or, you know, the language that the language of the situation in this case. Okay. And I know exactly what you know. You know what I mean by that.
Yeah.
The Police Is Your Brother initiative. What's that?
It's a long story, but Police Is My Brother initiative is my story. It's part of my story. I was in crime. I got in crime when I was 11 years till the age of 21 in the street of Nairobi.
10 years.
Yeah.
This Nairobi, this one?
Yeah. I have been a team reader of a gun. I have raised many, and my life was every time to be saved by police.
Explain. Wait. Trende pole pole. So at 11 umeingia crime. 10 years uko kwa crime. So let's start. What pushed you into crime?
Okay, one thing ilinipush kwa crime. My mom, my dad was a breadwinner. My mom was ule mother tu ako mtaani, ako home. My dad akamaringa second wife. She hama our home. Naona?
Mzee akatoka.
Sasa pressure ikabakingi home. Na the time pressure in a back home, I'm a second born. Na the Kikuyu second boy anakuanga amenemiwa dad wa mom. Kwa hivyo always ni sisi tunafeel the pain ya madhe.
Okay.
Our first born alikuwa ako tu, unaona, your brother is there nini. Nilijipata nimegrow kwa slum. Known as Kibagare. Kibagare iko located Kitusuru. Tunaita Roa Kitusuru. Kuna hapa Kitusuru
na Kitusuru view.
Na kwa life ya community ya slum, crime ilikuwa the only option. Unaona? Na ilianza funny sana. Harakati ya unaenda kwa street. Unaona watu wako kwa highway. Wanaomba. Hiyo ni back huko 2000. Ile harakati ya kuomba jamu inafunguka. Kwa hivyo mtu alikuwa anaenda kukupatia haja kupe. Inakubidi sometimes unafika home una kitu. But the elder brothers, acha tu waite hivyo in our community, normally say brotherhood, walikuwa wanafanya snatching. Hawakuwa naomba. Sisi wadogo ndio tunaomba. But walikuwa nauliza saa zote utaishi ukiomba mpaka when? Juu the time you are going home is like na waomba. Sina kitu. Sasa ikakuanga kwa mind. Jamu ikienda kufunguka, unaona mwenye anataka kukupea amefungua kioo kidogo. Unachukua ile pouch. Yani unajichukulia. For the first time nilijipata nimeshika 7K.
Ukichukua wallet ya mtu kwa gari?
Ile time nilichukuanga mara ya kwanza. Chukuanga 7K. Nikafanya shopping. Nikienda home, naambia my mom, I have a sponsor. Ndiye amefanya hizi vitu zo. Kwa hivyo hakuna penye my mom
aliwashuku
ina crime. Na nikafanya shopping because ni kwa ile street kuna his family. In the age of 11, 12, nimeingia kwa ile kiti ya a father. Baba wa nyumba. Unaona sasa mnaanza kustruggle story ya food. Hiyo harakati ndio nilijipata kwa crime. Kidogo ile time nilichukuanga ya kwanza si nimepata 7K. Nitarudi kuomba. Si nimeona
7K zingine mob.
Nimeona do ingine mob.
Na wewe ukienda home ukiambia mom, ulipata sponsor. Mama yako hako kuuliza sponsor ametoka wapi? Ulianza kuapply kwa sponsor wapi na
unajua
kuuliza?
Tumetoka kwa ghetto yoyote ile ghetto, hakukosi S2. Hakukosi wadosi karibu. Kwa hivyo the issue na sponsor set is a big deal. Kwa mtu wa ghetto.
So ulipata story ambayo ita convince mom. Okay.
Na ndio nikasema kwa ile msemo, mtu mwenye anakupenda sana sometimes anaweza kuhurt. Juu mama anakupenda sana but atakutetea
hata akijua kweli
the rust coin. Baka ile time sasa hakuna kukutetea. Unachomwa. But ile time mara ya kwanza angekuonesha kwa ile mapenzi haiwezi. Hiki tunafanya iwezi. But still alikufunika.
So ulipata hiyo 7,000 hiyo siku ya kwanza, ulichukua kibeti ya mtu kwa gari. Ukaenda humo ukafanya shopping, kila kitu ukatulia. So the next time uliita watu community, you said in our community, brotherhood. Yeah, this is the brotherhood of people who are operating in crime.
Yeah,
criminals. Yes. Okay. Sasa uliamua kufanya the next time, ilikuwaje?
Si nishaona kumbe inaweza. Jua na the way unazidi kuwa ndani ya crime, huwezi kuwa sober. Unaanza kujinvolve kwa drugs. In early age nishaanza kuvuta gru. Juu inani keep inaua the fear. Naona
you are brave.
Sasa unaanza kufear juu kuna hizo warning. Unajua mzazi hata kosa kuongea hata mtaani, utauawa, utapigwa na mob. But unaona hizi ni vitu zija kuhapenia. We ni mfresh. Takuita we ni mono tu kwa hii situation. Kidogo nimeanza kukomaa. Na nitakomaa aje. In the age of 14 nikapatikana na mob. Naona hiyo harakati ya
snatch.
Sasa nishakomaa hiyo snatch na nini.
Peter, ngoja kidogo.
Yeah.
Ulikuwa 11 years old wakati ulianza.
Yeah.
Na ulianza na kuomba.
Yeah.
Ukagraduate kuchukua.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Au kuenda shule? Au kuenda shule?
School. Mara mingi tulikuwa tunakutanga uko absent sana because you have to raise your family story ya food. Mtu yamehipa chuo, uko shule juu shule iko mtaani hapo hivyo. But mara zingine uyuko shule. Kuna some days uyuko shule. Juu hii story ya kuomba si ati ni every day.
Okay.
Naona? Ilifika place tunafanyanga weekend. Na kuta Monday to Friday uko shule.
So ulikuwa unafanya shift ya weekend?
Weekend umeingia shughuli. Naona? Na unaona wakubwa wako au wakipata do ni starehe. But wewe unajua kuna pari starehe inakuwa rao na nini. But unajipata unavuta drug unaweza afford ni gru. Unaona? Unaenda hivyo pore juu in the age of 15 ikuwa mtu mmoja mrevi sana.
So at 14 umeshapata pedi wa glue. So that means umekoma sana to a point that hauwezi kufanya shughuli ukiwa soba.
Yeah.
Shule pia uendi. At the point ulipatana na mob, what had happened?
Time ya mob ilikuwa ni one night on Saturday.
So ulianza kupiga mboka usiku pia?
Unajua sasa saa tu ufanye mchana. Si ati hii jamu unaifanya hii ya saa 1, unaifanya mbaka karibu saa 5 ya usiku. Juu nimetoka city na story ya happiness na ni West. The life of
Westlands, yeah.
Naona? Kwanza back then ilikuwa story ya virabu, jam. Wase wakipati, si wako kwa bar, wengine wako nje. Naona? Sasa saa moja ndio kuna jam. Mkitoka na hiyo sasa mnaanza kusimama nje ya virabu. Mwenye anatoka dhako na phone na nini. Vitu kaa hizo. But sasa unajua wale wase waliona imekuwa too much.
Okay.
Juu sasa si simu peke yake tunaiba mawaret. Tunaiba mpaka nguo. Umepiga kiatukari.
Kuja hapa.
Tukari, trao. Alafu unajua sasa scam peke yangu. Tukombogi.
Inje tu, broad daylight, mbele ya watu.
Kitu sasa kwa club inafika ni saa 2, saa 3 saa usiku. Ile time wase wametei zimewashika.
Watu wako changes rendezvous back in the days.
Sasa ile time wase wanatoka, kuna club ilikuwa itango Pavement. Ilikuwa ngapa kwa Raunda ya West. Sasa ulikuwa unapiganga 100. Ulikuwa unajua kuna shimo iko side ya hapa Uchumi. Na the super iko hapo saini Quickmart. Palikuwa na shimo inaenda inakutolea huko Consolata. Sasa ni zoezi tulikuwa tumepiganga unaweza ingia shimo umalize mpaka Console. Sasa Pavement Juni Road unavuka ilikuwa sasa tulikuwa tunaitanga 100. Ukisnatch simu 100 mpaka kwa shimo unaingia nda. Na hiyo press angalia kutoka Quickmart mpaka Console uko chini. Na unaweza enda na urudi ukiwa kwa hiyo tunnel. imekuwa sasa ni lifestyle.
Sasa mlikuwa mna snatch simu, mlikuwa mnaibia watu vitu zao, alafu mnauza mpate pesa, ama mlikuwa
wewe unauza upate do. Do yako mingi unakuta una raise familia yako. Unaona? Vijana wengi wamekuwa kwa crime. Wengi. Kuna wenye wamekuwa juu ya burden ya family. Kutaka ku raise family na juu ya poverty na nini. Juu kuna kitu mbaya ati your sister atenda kwa maisha ya umaraji ya food. Juu watu wengi geto wako na watu hiyo unasikia young mothers juu ya food ama juu ya pad. Yani kitu pitipiti. Juu there is a jinga fulani tu a guy tu imekaa pahari. Naangalia tu kasichana tu ataka nini, inaona tu kitu inaweza fanya ni kukadhurumu juu ya vitu
sanitary towels.
Sasa na nyuma yangu niko na my sister, tumezaliwa 3. Niko na nyamaza na juriza. Sizi yangu atadanganya juu ya kitu kama hizi vitu pitipiti. Sasa naona hapana. Naona I have to sacrifice myself. Mimi tu ndio nitapotea. Niko na hiyo kitu tu kwa roho yangu. Mimi ndio nitapotea kwa hii boma. But hawa si wengine wote watakuaje?
Na mkifanya hizi vitu mlikuwa mnajua ni mbaya?
Tunajua ni mbaya. Na tulikuwa si wengine pia powerful kwa kuomba. Tunaambia God, God jua
nielewe tu.
Tunaingia hii shughuli tu. Unajua situation vile iko hapa mbele. Umetoka kwa family, hata budako ajai andiko kazi. Ama kukuama chief ama nini. Ati msi unezaenda kuangalia niko yako ameikuwa pahali kwa gava ama presiwira. Unaona? Umegroia ukijua poverty mtu yangu hii mpaka ningangane nijitoe yani kwa njia yoyote ile na nini. Na tuko tunapoteza wengi, lakini zile wadi unapatiwa na wenzako zinakupea nguvu.
Kwa kupoteza unamaanisha nini exactly?
Msaki uawa. Umeuawa, umepigwa na mob. Mabesta anakuambia amedai in the line of duty. Huyu ni soja na tunafaa tumsindikishe na heshima. Hivi mara ya kwanza nilipigwa na mob, niliambiwa nimegraduate.
Na huku kufa.
Umepigwa unaambiwa sasa mtu wangu constable. Sasa una mawe mbili. The way unazidi kupata mangori ndio unazidi kuwa top. Unaona hakuna kitu kwa life yako unafia. Juu for the first miusema unaona mtu ya agenda prison. Asitamani. Juu akienda si ati naenda kumrekebisha.
Burudie statement tena.
Unaona mtoto agenda hawa watu wadogo wanapelekwa prison. Kama ajaenda asitamani kwenda. Juu kwenda si ati naenda kumrekebisha. A big number inakujanga kuwapatia. Unajua kuna fia mtu anazaria ngonayo. Hata kawe ni gangster. Utamani kuona kifo. Hata ukiwa muuaji. Ukiona kifo yako imefika utatense vibaya sana. But hii period umeenda prison, unaenda kukochiwa. Unaanza kuenda kuona kumbe kitu ndio nimeishi nikiogopa. Hata ni vile kifo ikuangi kuenda na kurudi. Unaendanga ukienda. Ingia kwanga unaenda na kurudi. Wase wangefia hiyo kifo.
Okay. Let's take a break. Peter Mbodhi is here with us this morning, and we're looking into the life of crime and what it meant at that time. We saw that they were reducing. We're interested to know what happened then when you run into the police. Mukikutana na polisi kwa barabara. Nini ilikuwa nifanyika, but we'll come back after this break and discuss that. And then the Police is My Brother is an initiative that you've also formed, where that all came from and where we are today, and what folks ought to do about now the rising state of crime and gangs in Nairobi. It's back. And we're asking questions around that this morning. It's 9:30 on the nose. This is the Situation Room. We'll take a break and be back after this. Our conversation continues this morning, coming in at now 27 minutes to 10 o'clock. Peter Mbuvia is our guest this hour, and looking at a life of crime, but trying to understand where this all came from. And we continue with that conversation. Before we go into the Police is Your Friend initiative and what it is that you did that, surely, Peter, wakati yo mulijua that hii life ilikuwa life ya ukora?
Tulijua ni life ya ukora na ni fupi. Unaona? Ulikuwa unajua anytime naweza ondoka. But juu ya situation yenye ulikuwa. But na today mi waambia mtu usiseme situation juu unaweza do many things. It's not just crime. But ilikuwa tu usha juu ya drugs nini. The way unazidi kupoteza marafiki. Inazidi kukua moyo sasa unaona I'm not going back.
Na there was some vile unaongea, there was some pride. Mulipata pride ingine, yani kufanya hii kazi vile mnasema ni kazi, but kuingia kwa hii life ya crime na unapitia njia ingine ngumu. Umeona sasa nimegraduate, nimekuwa mtu mkubwa in this world. Lakini mtu anaumia juu ya hii kazi mlikuwa mnafanya. Yo haikuwa na waguza hata kidogo.
Sasa na ile time uko soba ndio kidogo. Mara mingi tu kichwa yako iko na vitu zako. Alafu tu ulikuwa unajiuliza maswali. Frani alienda, alikuwa karibu na mimi. Frani ako pari frani. Mimi era nikienda siendi kukaa laundry. But sitakufa kama fara. Ati ndiko nimekaa pari na nini. Mpaka neke history yangu na nini. But pia mi usema God alikuwa na purpose ya vitu mingi sana. Ile time God anakutaka kwa kitu yuko kutayarisha kutoka mbali sana. Na anakupitishia zile stage zote unaogopa. Juu God amenipitishia zile stage zote kwa maisha nilikuwa na fear.
So mlikuwa mnapanga sasa vile saa hii watu wanaogopa kuingia Nairobi because tumesikia kuna gangs. Life imerudi sasa. Hata saa 10 mtu akienda town wanaogopa juu mtu anaweza kunyonga ama kitu kama hiyo. Mlikuwa mnapanga vile sasa tunaingia I don't know. Tunaingia Nairobi, believe nasema hustle. Yeah, mlikuwa mnapanga leo tunaenda kufanya hii na hii. Na mtu kama mimi naingia kwa town nataka kufanya shughuli zangu, narudi bila simu ama narudi bila kibeti ama nimegwara mlikuwa mnapanga sasa hiyo mkiingia town.
Kupanga ni wase wameshafika press wamegraduate. Najua crime iko na stages. Inakaa ni ya polisi. Kuna constable, kuna inspector, kuna OCS. Naona nikisema hivyo nasema hivyo kwa nini? Nasema ukisikia wase wanapanga hasa washafika kuwa is a gun. Is a gun group. Naona washatoka primary wako high school. Na high school ni wenye wanabeba silaha. Wako na visu nini. Hiyo wako high school. Wenye wako Okari University wanu wabunduki. Unaona? Nao ndio wanapanga wanasema wabunduki ndio wanapanga wanasema na pia wa high school tunaende ile M-Pesa. Tuna round hour say. Unaona? Na mipango mingi na kujanga ile time kuna show. Unaona kukiwa na kumeretwa kama Uhuru Garden. Unashika? Ile time show inaendelea. Ukiona mbogi ikikuja ikiwa hivi jeshi. Ujua wanataka kukuround. Kukuround wanataka kuweka kosako. Na kidogo wakikuondokea una kitu.
So, ujua unanikumbusha there's a time nilikuwa hapo tuanje Uhuru Gardens a while back and I remember the same thing happened the way you're describing it. But in a situation yenye unapata watu wamekam because of a hard situation back home, like who wanna explain ilitoka from mzaya alitoka home, life ikakuwa hard, ikabidi ujisacrifice so that your sister at least aweze kupata future. But in a situation yenye ukitoka ukienda mboka unajua there's a high possibility hautarudi home because either utauawa na wananchi or Karao atakuangusha. So during your time, how many times polisi umekutana na polisi, because umeniambia umeshikwa enough times, umeachiliwa, but at what point ilifika ukajua Karao ameniongelesha lakini naona nikiangushwa?
Kuna time nilishikwa after hizi vitu zote. Kuna OCS alikujanga Kabete, the famous one, akaitwa Ukampo. Kuna time alikuwa itorerei, lakini sasa watu walimuita Ukampo. Kwa list ya Ukampo nilikuanga kwa mtu wa 9. Najua alikuwa na list
top 10.
Na I was young, but tunaona sifa yako pia
ni kubwa
na nini. Vijana wenye wana terrorize highway na nini. Na zoezi yenye tuko tunafanya zoezi ni kama ya kwenda marathon. Ukituona tukikimbia Remuru Road, asubuhi zoezi, mtu anapiga zoezi mpaka unaona ni ukimbiria inchi
Kipchoge.
Uko zoezi, kumbe wewe uko zoezi ya mbio. Chukua ni 100, mbio ingine mbaya sana. Na tuko tunasemanga ukipatikana bahati mbaya, but ile time OCS alinishikanga, life yangu nasemanga ilikuwa na mambo mingi sana, cause my grandmother mwenye amezaa my mom ni msee alikuwa anajiweza, but sasa hayuko. Asori yake rest in peace. Grandmother alinipenda sana kama mzee wake. But unajua Wakikuyu wako na shida fulani. To help your sister, maybe juari wale wana the hustler guy, na akakataa kutoka kwa ile marriage, watakuangalia tu. Your family, but watakuangalia. Usitwago tuna mambo yako. Sasa ile time walisikia nimeshikwa, alikamkuna OCS. Kuna OCS. Sasa akamwambia, mbona mnatafuta maiti kwa wenye wako uhai? Hiyo kitu ili making even my grandmother kugonjeka na nini, depression na nini, na akanificha 3 months. But ananipelekanga kwa station na ni book. Unaretango saa 8 za usiku na jipa. Ni station chache sana, maybe zenye zimefunguliwa juzi tu, ndio tuja dozi Nairobi. Nakuja unatupa huko, unatupa kule, unatupa huko. Mara ya mwisho alitupeleka forest, tukiwa vijana 4. Tukiwa 4 boys. Na hiyo night alisemanga kuna moja ataishi akipeana story, na kwa bunduki akatoa. Sasa ametutoa. Unajua ukiwa kwa life ya wewe ni criminal, kuna zile nini gava na kuvarishanga. Kikuvarisha sasa ujui kwenye unapelekwa. Kila mtu ako kwa pingu yake. Kututoa story ya boot ni ya ukweli. Hiyo vijana kwa boot wanaenda na kupelekwa ile press. Kitu moja alisemanga kuna msee moja kwa maisha yake ataishi akipeana story, na sijui ni nani. Akatuambia kila mtu aseme kitu yake moja moja. Kijana wa kwanza alisema yeye si mwizi, anaekelewa. Mwingine akasema yeye anaweza omba msamaha na nini. But kuna word mimi niliambia OCS, if kifo yangu itachange, mimi nilienda jana. Kuzi nilikuwa najua wenye atasamehea siwezi kuwa kwa hiyo list. Niko ready, nini yangu nishajitayarisha. Ni vile nilikuwa sijui ni wapi nitagongwa. Na huyo chari wa mwisho pia kajiongea kurudisho zile kofia. Na OCS alikuwa ametoa risasi zote, akeka 3, alipiga 2, akapigiwa simu, akaongea, but tunasikia steps vile naongea but ile time simu ilikata, alipiga risasi. Kitu mimi nakumbukanga, nilijikojorea na nilianguka. Naona hizi ni ziko karibu. Na yeye kuniamusha, aliniamusha akanirudisha kwa gari.
Bado ulikuwa umevalishwa hiki kitu?
Kama amenivalisha
face mask.
Na kunirudisha kwa gari, alikujanga akanitupa Parklands usiku.
Police station ama?
Police station. Na sikubukiwa na nini. Na akili yenye siku anajua, nilikuwa najiuliza wase aligonga wapi? but sasa umejipata peke yako. Kwa hiyo mandhari nificha mpaka mara ya mwisho akanirudisha Kabete. Kunirudisha Kabete, there is one alikuanga OC crime, alikuwa madam. The time aliniona, aliniambia wewe utakufa kwa bunduki. Wewe kitu utakufa nayo, utadoze. Utarara tu, kifo yako itakuwa ile peaceful. Wewe bunduki kaumseme kusamehea. God kuna message yako nayo kwako. Kuna kitu anataka ufanye.
Hiyo madam police ndio alikuwa anakuambia hivyo.
Ndio alikuwa ananiambia hivyo. Ile time alikam, unaona OC crime is a inspector mwenye anakuwa na crime. Vile alikam kuangalia kwa station akaniona. Na hii si ile siku dilipeleko na irudingi. Na hiyo time kurudi OC alikuwa ametusomea, alikuwa anakusomea kama nini yake, sheria zake. Nikikupeleka ile sel peke yako ujue ni marehemu. Nikikupeleka kwa boot jua urudi. Hizo vitu zote amenipitishia. Na amenipe chance. Nure madam aliniambia, umsaki kupe nafasi. Uko na mission kubwa ya kufanya. Na ile time nilitoka juu sisi mara ya mwisho alikujanga akaniambia, mimi sitakupea fare utoke Kangemi. Kangemi ndio mtaa yako. But mimi kuna kitu nataka mpaka kuwe decent. Jio time mimi nikakijana nimerelea tunywere. Unaona? Tunatinati na nini. Niliendanga ile style nirenyore yangu. 209 mpaka wareo. Kinyozi decent. Usinipiga kati. Tizile unapiga ngonini. Jori niambia kitu anataka tu ni decent na nini. But niko na ile dinayo na jiuliza maswali. Alafu nimetoka ndani, partner wangu tulikuwa naye cross, kushikwa alifunga ngo life sentence. Nashika, yani God amemake. Naona hizi vitu zote zimekuzunguka. Na hiyo time usiesa kinishika nilikuwa nimepiga ngo na mob camera zingine 2. Sasa niko ile top. Wewe ndio kusema. But kumbe God alikuwa na purpose ya kitu nikuje nifanye baada.
Na hiyo purpose ilikuwa nini?
Ilikuwa ni gani?
Purpose ilikuwa nikam kutoka kwa reformist na kulete makarao cross tukua kwa conversation. Do the same who askari, we need each other. Nao ni msia na mkanga nenda naomba kazi, anatoka kwa family, na ni msia pia kona utu. Na kuna kitu moja nimekuja kunotice. Sijaisikia polisi wakifight na mapasta.
Okay.
Na
okay.
Na kitu unakutanga kijana wakipigana na polisi, kuna kuanga na agenda juu kijana sha hate. Mimi nachukia karao. Sijai kutana na yeye lakini I hate police. But kuna polisi pia wako na utu.
So umetoka ndani, you've gone through ordeal, umekuwa decent, unanyoa fiti.
Umewacha your life kweli? By your time?
That's the question.
Sikuwachanga once, but nikuwa nang'ang'ana kuacha, na pia kitu ilichangianga sana. History nikitoka ndani, before nitoke ndani, my sister akiwa form 4, nilipiga ngo on Thursday na visitini yake ndiye afanye mtihani, ilikuwa Sato. Hiyo Sato. Sasa unaona nimepigwa na mob Thursday na Sato ndio visitini ya mwisho ya my sister afanye paper. Na hiyo Thursday macho yangu ilikuanga kama brad. Unaona umepigwa na mob. Macho imekaa brad. Sasa kwenda chuo ilikuwa ni stress. Sizi yangu atanionaje? Na sizi yangu hakuwa anajuanga mimi niko kwa crime. Kwa anajuanga bro tu mzuri nini, msemu hambo. But ile time nilivanga macho ine na nikaendanga shule kwa sizi yangu na mabeste zangu. Sizi yangu kumbe kuna beste yake, jirani yetu alikuanga home on Wednesday, akarudi shule Friday. Unaona? Udem aliambianga sizi yangu kila kitu. Bro wako alikuwa amemado, hata sijui penye yako ama ako sawa. Unaona Sato nimekam na Mbogi. Sizi yangu tulikujanga na mashope. Unaona unajua crew ya majambazi. Mnaingianga super, either ni kufurahisha mrembo ama sizi yako. Mtaingia mfanye shope serious. Kuingia shule sizi yangu penye alikuwa lonely sana. ile kitu ilikuwa
inamsumbua
bro yangu wako ama yuko. Alafu tulikuja kama saa 9 hapo. Sizi yangu kuniona alikimbia. Naona sasa kochu yao gate ulikuwa akini hug, niko na macho ine na nimepiga rebo. Navumilia, unaona? Staki juu pia nilikuwa nimeguzangwa. Hiyo ilikuwa mob justice ya mwisho na ilikuwa nimegonga mshipa ya heart. Kwa hivyo kuna design kwa siwezi kasirika, siwezi fanya vitu mingi. Nikijaribu kufanya kitu yote niko na feel pain. Sasa akini hug nimejikaza tu kama kidume.
Na ulikuwa unasikia uchungu.
Nasikia pain hata kukamu. Ni feel pain. But sizi yangu alinivurutanga tukienda kwa class fulani. Kunitoa macho ine. Ilikuwa mara ya kwanza kuona sizi yangu kwa hiyo age ya form 4 akiria. Na ririanga na akaniambianga words zilikuwa strong. Akaniambia bro, umesacrifice sana nisome. Sioni haja hii masomo kama utakuwa kwa life. Unaona? Hakuna hii life itakuwa tamu nikijua nilikupoteza, ulijisacrifice ni kwa hii kitu. Sioni haja even school fees ama nini, ni better ni drop shule na nini. But jua kitu yote unafanya kwa giza, kuna wase wanakupenda, ikikam kwa right inawa affect. Hiyo ni wadiri kwa mdogo wangu akiniambia ni touch. Juu nilishendanga hata kujitetea. Siko kwa crime. Na nikaambia sizi yangu, la venye nakupenda nayo, I will try my best.
Kuwacha hii maisha.
Nimwambia nita try my best to be safe.
So let's extrapolate this, yeah? So here's a situation where saizi uko na initiative ya kuleta polisi na wananchi pamoja. So how did it start? Polisi waliku embrace vipi knowing very well walikuwa mahalifu?
Kitu moja naweza sema ni jani kutoka hiyo time nilitoka kwa crime. Ilifikanga press nikitoka kwa crime sikuwa naongea but nilikuwa naendanga masemina. Naona hizi initiative zinaitanga vijana zinaongeresha. Ni vitu za maana sana. Maana sana. Kuna NGO zinafanya kazi. Hiyo design za kuita vijana seminar, unaambia fact. Unaona kuna msana kuguzanga na reality. Na unaona yenyewe hii life ni tamu na itajika. Na kuna mse moja alisemanga, nakumbukanga the back 2011 hapo, alisemanga kila mtu angalie mkono yake. Kuna hii flower. Unaona? Na hii flower kwa mkono ya mse mwingine, hiyo flower yako ifuanane na hiyo mse mwingine. Kwa hivyo kuna kitu unique yenye ina mtu mwingine. Ni nini hiyo? Unafaa itafute ujue ni nini purpose ya kuwa kwa hii life ni gani. Unaona? Na kwa community, hiyo community ukiondoka kuna kitu watakuwa wamepoteza. Ni kuangana zile masojo ili nichukuanga karibu 4 years. Siongeangi na wase but na try kungangana kuprove even my mom nishatoka hii shughuli mama. Si uko kwa hii shughuli.
Yeye kama mama ako anakuamini.
Madhe akuwa ananiamini juu. Madhe ameiambia si huko. Naona na ikatumanga my mom wagonjeke ugonjwa wa sukari. Bakata wareo mimi you hustle do kutibu my mom. Naona juu naona ile pressure na depression, madhe kutarajia hiyo kitu for a long time. Afu ime happen. Sasa ni kungangana kumake yufurahisha your mom. Yaani unataka kufanya the right thing kwa wasi wenye wanakujari na nini. Cause my mom alikuwa anaambianga kitambo, ukijana wako ni mkora. Mpaka unajua dada alikuwa anaenda ngasengia narudi. Akikuja buda anasema huyu ni mkora, huyu kula mpaka bangi. Madhe mpaka ataria. Na hiyo ndio nasema
alikuwa anajua lakini
madhe alikuwa anateta sana pana. Ukijana wangu si mwizi, hakuwa give up. Nashika mpaka ile time nime give up, hakuwa give up. Lakini alikuwa anasema ukijana wangu si mwizi, amumpendi. Lakini mzee anasema ukweli. Ukijana hata kuna time mzee alisema ukijana anagoja uawe tumzike hata tutulie. Na hizo wada naambia kwa macho yako, yani ya kubemberezi. Unaona? But madhe amebeba hiyo burden, hiyo mapenzi na nini strong. Unaona? Na ilikuwa ni kungangana nionyeshe mam niko out of this.
So kwa nini umeamua kufanya kazi na polisi badala ya kufanya kazi na watu ambaye sasa wako kwa hii maisha ya uhalifu, badala ya kusema wacha tujaribu ndio hao vijana watoke kwa hiyo maisha, badala ya kufanya kazi na polisi? Kwa nini umeamua hivyo?
Okay. First, mimi niko katikati. Sawa? Police is my brother initiative iko katikati ya polisi na vijana. Sawa? Vijana, kuna kijana anataka kutoka shughuli but hana confidence. Sawa? Sisi tuko hapa kuambia kijana hii si life. Hii life imepoteza vijana wengi. Na our motto iko simple sana. Tunaambianga kijana life ni compass. Life ni compass. Na kwa life kuna vitu 4 zenye zinakuhusu wewe. Wewe kijana, wewe kama uko miaka 10, 15, kuna kijana kwa miaka 15 au kwa drugs. Unaona? Kuna kijana kwa miaka 15 ako kwa jera. Sawa? Hata kama ni ile ya watu hii. Kuna kijana kwa miaka 15 ako kaburini. Na kuna kijana kwa miaka 15 ana focus na dream yake. Na ana do best. Kwa hivyo ni wewe utamake decision kwa hii compass yako unataka kwenda pande gani. Na kunanga star anakanga sana. Na kuna vitu 3 huwezi kuwa at the same time. Huwezi kuwa master, huwezi kuwa fara, na huwezi kuwa mjanja. Lazima uchague unataka kuwa gani. Mafara wote naona wajanja wako jera. Sawa? Wajanja wote wako jera. Wa master wote wako kaburini. Wako Rangata, Murang'a, Kisumu, Western. But mafara ndio sisi tunahubiri street. Sawa? Tunaamka tunafanya kazi zetu. Sasa ni uchague unataka pia kuwa party gani.
So tukiongea size, because umesema wewe ndio linkage between askari na hawa maboys. Kumaanisha as we speak right now, you know, or unajua maboys wenye wako shughuli wengi. Still ni threat kwa community.
True.
So how then unaambia askari? It's difficult because polisi atakuamini vipi that you're preaching the gospel if unajua maboy na humwambia maboy ni hawa?
Let me tell you, kwa life, kwa raia, kuna raia na utu na kuna raia na utu. Kuna mseneza kutana na wewe hujamfanya kitu akuumize. True or false?
True.
Kwa polisi pia kuna polisi yako hivyo. Sawa? Kitu si ungangana kufanya, na tunashukuru God sana. Kuna maskari wanatusaidia sana. Juu idea yetu si kuumiza huyu kijana, ni kumeki huyu kijana atoke kwa hii shughuli, akue mtu mwingine tofauti kwa community. Na let me tell you, kama kuna mse anaharibu huyu kijana na hii kiburi, kuna mse tutaji hapa, politician. Na hii gani imerudi sahi town, imerudi juu ya politician.
Aje.
Ndakuambia vizuri. Sahi politician wako campaign kuprotect the territory. Sawa? Kuna jenzi, kuna gunzi. Sawa? Ujue gunzi yuko kwa ijia jenzi. Gunzi ni millennium. Lakini anataka ure gun. Unaona huyo gun ure unakuta governor anasema ama MP, unajua nataka kungarisha hapa hivi. Cause ni kitu ili happen. 27 ni vile hiyo jina maybe ikuwa I was gunzi. Mwenye nikiambio msifrani afai kuingia mtaa yangu, afai na niko na do. Na nikienda na uangarie kuna vijana wakishikwa, mtu wa kwanza anasimamanga kwa ile station ni mbunge ama MCA ama kuna the connection. Sawa? Tulikuwa na nini za Nakuru. Wenye wanatumika walikuwa ni wakina nani? Politician. Naona? Sisi tumefika pressing car, we are fearing the politician. Tell them the truth. Iwo una protect. Kuna paruta siku moja utakosa press ya kuprotect. Jua vijana wamefika pari wamemea pembe. Naona? Na kuna kitu ingine pia na gavana try kuambia kuna our CS wa interior anafaa kuje ground. Naona? Kuna vijana wengi wanapiga shughuli za reform. But hawapati support ya serikali. Hata sengine utaita maaskari mkae chini na vijana. Usiesi akwambia maaskari wote wako busy. Nashika. Juu as a police is my brother. Sisi ukamkupika tunapika kama ranch na vijana ama tunacheza boro. Tunakuwa na conversation. Tunaulizana. Mimi na yeye tunaulizananga nini? Mbona ufanye hii? As a family. Na hapo ndio unakutanga polisi watapata information through hawa vijana. Sio sisi. Hawa vijana ndio ujiongea. Ngori na nini? Kwa ile conversation wanapatanga vitu mingi sana. Na kuna kuwa na the way forward. Juu kuna mitaa ikikuja ni maandamano, kuna mitaa ziko zinatokea maandamano. Life ilikuwa tu inaendelea tu normal. Kuna ile kitu wanajiuliza, nikianza maandamano niharibu kitu fulani hapa, ama ule karao unaenda kufight na yeye ni karao tunajuana. Najua kuna kijana anaendanga anaambia mpaka OCS, mimi OCS niko mbaya na mimi ukinipatia hata capital naweza fanya biashara hata ya smoky. Na unakuta OCS, mimi na OCS kadhaa najua. Naweza kuambia OCS wa hii press kuna conversation nakanga na vijana na kuna na wengi wanakaa mpaka unakuta wanaingiana. Ni vile maybe vitu zingine zifanywe document. Lakini zikikuwa tunaweza zifanya sana tutahiri.
Tutahiri. Na hapo ndio mwisho wa leo. Because it's interesting to hear your story, Peter, and what can happen because tumeona bado uko katikati ya tutoke kwa hii maisha ndio tuangalia mbele. Asante sana for coming today. Tunaomba Mungu tu ikue maisha ikue imebadilika kabisa. Tusaidie watu wengine watoke.
True.
Kabisa. Thank you so much for being here this morning. Thank you for being part of Kenya's biggest conversation this week. And we get into a new one next week. Have a good weekend. We'll keep talking. It's 10 a.m.
Good morning, this is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamire. The case against Manyata MP John Mukunji in relation to Judai's Sabasaba protest is expected to resume in court today. Mukunji, journalist James Mboshi and